Welcome back on BBC Sport Online to the Gnoll at Neath, where Glamorgan are off in pursuit of a challenging 332 to win here on BBC Sport Online. Rob Yates, 102, Ed Barnard, 79. The openers taking Warwickshire most of the way, an opening stand of 188. Just one short of a record first wicket stand for the Bears in this competition. And it's Barnard to open up from the Oakwood Road end. Tom Bevan on strike, the right-hander. Left-handed Eddie Byram at the other end. And here comes Barnard. It's a ball to Bevan, who plays it hard backward of square, but the fielder Yates just got a hand to it, and there's, well, almost a mix-up there. Byram just about scampering back for a second run to the non-striker's end as the ball was partially fielded. There was a bit of confusion en route. Ball to Bevan, who plays it hard backward of square, but easy single there.
I think, Nick, a better throw.
It's just got a hand to it, and there was, well, yeah, it's almost a mix-up there. Byram just about scampering back. But that was almost a misunderstanding and a run-out first ball. As it is, there are 2 runs on the board.
Partially stopped there by Ethan Brooks. Backward point.
So Barnard runs from right to left as we look at it. Bowls to Bevan, who's on the back foot defending. And there is no run. So Glamorgan need to score better than a runner ball to win this game, but Warwickshire's opening pair, Barnard and Yates, showed that you can have time to have a look at it relatively. 125 off 25 overs. First half of the innings was reasonably rapid, but after the mid-innings drinks break they really got going. Here's Barnard in to bowl, and Bevan looking slightly uncertain, plays it off the inside edge and pad out on the offside.
Yeah, Bevan, of course, injured during the T20 campaign, lost most of the T20 competition, unfortunately.
Yes, he'd probably have played a reasonably regular role, especially given the injuries to Lloyd and Byram. But 134 here last year against Hampshire, so good memories of this ground, but Glamorgan need 100 from someone if they're going to win this game. Barnard motors in, bowls. Bevan on the back foot plays gently into the offside, fielded by skipper Rhodes at cover.
Got a bit muggy, Nick.
It's
got that feel that there could be a shower approaching, but not very warm conditions.
It is sultry, isn't it? Despite the additional window opened in the side of our tent to try and get some air through. Here comes Barnard again. Bowls to Bevan, feet apart and angling the bat, dropping that one down to third man. Fielded by Lintott. Left arm throw, and they go through for a single.
So the run rate at the start of the innings was 6.6. 332 of the target, daunting target.
Certainly is, but is achievable. There are shortish boundaries. The crowd packed in around on this smallish club ground. It's Barnard in, bowls down leg side. That'll be called a wide, 4 without loss. Hospitality tents, well, it looks like the lunch is good or long anyway, because there are still a lot of people at their tables and a lot of empty chairs in front of the hospitality tent. So someone's making the most of this rare outground occasion as Barnard is in to bowl to Byram, who drives on. It's through, just through mid-on for 4 runs, where the fielder made a diving effort, but dived rather over the top of it. And Glamorgan, rare outground occasion, as Barnard to one over the 7 Byram, who drives on. It's through the fielder. Just through mid-on.
Mid-on.
Yeah,
sweetly timed.
Thought I saw an unfamiliar number on there. Theo Wiley wearing 21 was the man who attempted to stop that one. So this will be the tall figure of Hannon Dolby, the lighthouse figure, 6'7" of him.
Yeah, another one who's played in all formats.
And in the second row.
The beanpole figure comes in. Right arm over. Ooh, deviated. We haven't seen many go off the seam. And that left Bevan. Haven't been many, Nick.
No, maybe it's the cloud coming down a little bit as we go into the early afternoon. It'll give the bowlers a little extra assistance, but Warwickshire will hope for early breakthroughs.
That left the batsman late as Hannon Dolby comes in. Beanpole figure, right arm over to Bevan. Again, a bit of movement. And this will be encouraging for the bowler. But it's stabbed down into the offside. There's no run, 8 for no wickets. The required target is 332.
Outfielders at fine leg on the 45, and at third man also fairly squarish on a 45-degree angle. 2
slips for Hannon Dolby at the moment as he comes in past the umpire, bowls. And that's nicked, and it's caught at second slip, and that's the first wicket to fall. Bevan goes for 3, and Hannon Dolby and Warwickshire strike.
Well, Bevan pushing forward, didn't quite get to the pitch of it, and a comfortable waist-high catch to second slip off a fairly thick edge. Will Rhodes, the skipper, pouching that one neatly enough.
As he comes in past the umpire, bowls.
But
and
there really was a bit of movement
and
there,
it's caught at second slip,
as we see the replay on our video screens.
The moment as he comes in past the umpire, bowls.
Well bowled,
and
Hannon
that's
Dolby,
and it's caught at second slip, and that's the first wicket to fall.
They were with the bats.
The moment as he comes in, encouraging signs earlier in the over, and that one just left Bevan as well. Had a little dabble that time. The first wicket to fall. Bevan goes for 3, and second slip, and they've struck. So, worst possible start for Glamorgan in the second over.
So Sam Northeast playing his first match of the season in this competition. He's given a week off because he'd played in everything up until then. And still has a family base in Kent, so does a lot of miles normally. And understandable that he's given a little bit of a rest.
Yeah, he was ever present in the T20 competition, and games coming thick and fast. And Warwickshire will be hoping the wickets come thick and fast. Hannon Dolby in, and there's a big shout for leg before. Nothing given. Oh, they were all interested in that. It'll be interesting to see the replay.
That was a good concerted appeal from a team in high spirits, wasn't it?
And there's a big shout for leg before. Nothing given. Oh, they were all interested in that.
Still 8 for 1.
Heart in mouth time that was.
Northeast just rubbing the thigh above the pad to indicate it was a fairly high strike.
And here he comes, 5th ball of the over. Hannon Dolby, good length ball once more. He's got his eye in here.
He's started really well this over, hasn't he? Tall, just the far side of medium, nothing express pace. You think that he might be bowling a bit quicker given his height, but it is good old traditional British seam bowling, medium fast.
Bit of cloud cover as well to help. The last ball of the over. In he comes, good length, good firmly struck shot for nothing, unfortunately, as far as Glamorgan and Sam Northeast are concerned. So it's a wicket taking over for Hannon Dolby. Glamorgan 8 for 1.
The batting to come for Glamorgan, who made 3 changes. Got Carlson, Root, Callaway, Horton, maybe Ul Hassan at 7. Van der Hoogten, firm striker of the ball on his day. Gorvin and Podmore, who we assume will be able to bat, even though he went off injured in the field. Barnard starts a new over, and Byram just opening a face, running it down to third man for the single. 9 for 1 Glamorgan, chasing 332 to win. Bit more sunshine piercing through the clouds. Home side could do with a bit of that, given the swing that is engendered when the clouds come down low. Barnard in, right arm over the wicket, driven by Northeast, firmly into the leg side, tumbling stop at wideish mid-off by Michael Booth, the debutant in the Warwickshire side. Didn't see him with the bat, we expect to see him with the ball. 10 for 1.
There are plenty of runs out there on this smallish field, but they need to build a partnership.
Byram gets an edge to that, looking to play it down, maybe not that fine as it turned out, but gets a safe single down to third man, wide of slip, and he managed to play it down anyway, so it wouldn't have carried even if they'd had 2 slips in at that end as well, but they don't. The blue shirts of Warwickshire, gold and yellow of Glamorgan. Barnard into bowl, driven into the offside by Northeast, straight to cover. Fielded by Lintott, no run. So a slip. Man out at square leg, and third man for the right-handed Northeast. And the rest spaced round towards the edge of the circle, as you would imagine. Barnard in to bowl, steered into the offside by Northeast, but well stopped by the diving youngster Sheikh, who is buoyed, no doubt, by his exciting little cameo of 21 off 10 balls.
Yeah, looks a promising player.
Anyone who plays county cricket at 16, as he did last season, would have something to recommend him. As Barnard into bowl, driven nicely by Northeast through the infield, might not quite reach the ropes. Now it'll be hauled up in front of the hospitality tent by Skipper Rhodes, and they're comfortably back for 2 runs. Northeast just steering that one really through the covers rather than lashing into it, and Glamorgan are 13 for 1 after 3 overs here on BBC Sport Online, and they are chasing 332 for victory.
Yeah, 5 coming off that over. A few moments of concern. Well, they've lost 1 wicket, but the man bowling, Hannon Dolby, has had a bit of movement from this Dyfed Road end, as he will begin his 2nd over, Warwickshire's 4th. Byram takes guard. Back after taking a blow to the hip against Sussex in the T20 competition early in the season. Here comes Hannon Dolby past the umpire. Bowls.
Shot.
A good shot through the covers for 4 by Byram. Timed impeccably.
Yeah, that was up towards us. It looked like a boundary the moment it left the bat, really. Beautiful timing by Byram.
His 2nd boundary.
Innings of 25 and 30 so far in this competition, so starts. Hasn't been able yet to go on.
And they need him to stick around as Hannon Dolby comes in, bowls. Good length ball, and it's caught at point, backward point. And Byram falls. And Glamorgan in a state of disarray. The 2nd wicket to go. And Byram goes for 10. A 2nd wicket for Hannon Dolby.
Yeah, looking to play a similar shot. Didn't quite get the timing right, and a relatively simple low catch to point. Ed Barnard with the catch to follow his excellent innings, and Glamorgan in a deep mire at 17 for 2 in the 4th over, chasing 332, but not chasing very effectively at the moment as Kieran Carlson comes to the wicket, the Glamorgan skipper. His performances so far in this competition, 26 and 65, so in decent enough nick, but well, 2 down early, and there's not a lot of experience in the middle to lower order, so Glamorgan desperately needing runs out of the next couple of wickets if they're to mount any sort of challenge towards the target of 332.
They are desperate for a captain's innings after the 2nd wicket to fall. They're in trouble. 17 for 2 in the 4th. And Hannon Dolby obviously buoyed now, as is the field. Mid-off, mid-on, 2 slips. Cover, mid-wicket and backward point as Hannon Dolby starts his run-up in past the umpire. He's got his eye in, oh, and that just evades the wicket-keeper's gone through, and they'll collect a couple.
Was that off the edge? It
Yeah,
looked as though it was.
Well, they were interested.
And Byron goes for 10. A second
Just
wicket
seeing the
for
replay
Hannon
of
Dolby.
the Eddie Byron
looking-
wicket.
I don't think byes have been called.
No, 2 on the board next to Carlson. It looked as though it might have carried low down. Maybe an inside edge. Inside edge, difficult one for the keeper.
Beautiful line and length, though.
Technically a drop chance down the leg side.
Hannon Dolby targeting a 3rd. That's left outside the off stump by Kieran Carlson. But it's a nervy time for the incoming batsman. And he's got his line and length bang on.
Absolutely, Glamorgan. Well, Van der Hoogten had economy early on, but there was no penetration at all for the first half of the innings.
Oh, and again, that's gone all the way through. That might have been an inside edge. It's gone fine, and it's gone for 4.
Well, Carlson 6 runs off the inside edge straight away. Certainly riding his luck. That one along the ground. Previous one was just about a technical chance.
Again, streaky and lucky, but Glamorgan will take anything at the moment. As they chase 332, they're 23 for 2. This is the last ball of the 4th. I guess against an impressive Hannon Dolby, who comes in past the umpire. Good length ball once more, but that's glided down to 3rd man, and they'll pick up a single at the end of the over. But Warwickshire very much on top with Glamorgan 24 for 2, and I'll depart the commentary position.
Thanks, Kenneth. We'll bring in Mike Taylor, representing the visiting radio stations. A man with several hats on, Mike Taylor. As the Glamorgan worm is, well, it's heading in the right direction, but a couple of very significant blips along the way, considering that Warwickshire didn't lose a wicket until the 33rd over, when they had 188 on the board. So Barnard looking to follow up his 79. He's already on the card with a catch as he bowls, and off the back foot, played by Carlson, fielded, half fielded by the bowler. Impressive start from the big man.
Well, he's been in fine form with both the red ball and the white ball, so already with 7 wickets now in this competition at minimal cost. Passed 50 wickets in the championship last season, and even though Warwickshire have added Chris Rushworth to their squad and he's top of the wickets, I think he's 36 championship wickets this one.
Driven hard by Carlson, back past the bowler, and this one will race away to the boundary for 4 runs. Carlson moves up to 11 off just 6 deliveries, 28 for 2.
Well, they could do with a few authoritative strokes like that. And that was very sweetly timed by Kieran Carlson. And notwithstanding the number of runs we've had, we've seen times today when it hasn't always been easy to time the ball.
Barnard in, bowls to Carson, who works it into a gap on the leg side, calls for a quick single, and it is comfortably there. By the time it's picked up at mid-wicket, Morgan 29 for 2. So we've got the boundary for this over. And really it's a question of, well, Carlson will play his natural game anyway. He is an attacking batter, and if he stays in, he will nearly always score at a decent lick. Sam Northeast can play a quieter role if needed, as he proves by defending on the leg side to mid-wicket, and there's no run.
And to a degree, that's fair enough with a target of 330 odd to chase. Although we saw from Warwickshire that you can do it in the more traditional way, you can score steadily and then keep wickets in hand and accelerate. 330 is a lot of runs, and you can get behind the clock very quickly.
As Barnard steams in, bowls, Northeast drives beautifully down the ground. Timed that one really well, and it went virtually in the same direction as Carlson's shot earlier in the over. Very straight long on. Up to the sight screen, pops over the sponsor's advertising hoarding, and nice to see that ECB did manage to replace Royal London as sponsor with Metro Bank for this year, despite the lack of attention and love given from HQ to this competition.
Well, there's a lot of goodwill towards it from the punters, as we're seeing here today, because there is a lovely atmosphere in the ground. It's not only looks good to see, but to hear it, especially at the break, it was great.
Barnard is into bowl, and forward comes Northeast, playing defensively on the leg side. No run, 33 for 2 after 5 overs. Warwickshire at this stage were 18 without loss. Well, my opinion, for what it's worth, is that Glamorgan ought to play all their one-day cup matches on out grounds, because you're going to hopefully areas that don't get regular for or senior county cricket. But it's 2 at Neath and 2 at Cardiff this year.
And that is, I mean, a great tradition of Glamorgan cricket, isn't it, to play all over the place. Here's Hannon Dolby to start over number 6, 2 wickets already, and he has the right-handed Carlson forward defensively this time.
Yeah, COVID put a bit of a spanner in the works, didn't it? Because they had to play everything at headquarters because of basically better security for the players and keeping them away from the public. But once the COVID pandemic is, well, it's not completely over, because there is still the illness around, but now that we're back to relatively normal circumstances, it's nice for the players to be seen at close quarters as they are here.
It is. Hannon Dolby approaches from the Difford Road end and bowls a shorter delivery, and it's well played by Carlson, who rides the bounce well and coughs it through extra cover for 4. It's a good stroke.
It was just beautiful timing, wasn't it? A wristy shot square of the wicket, even though there was a bit of bounce for the tall Hannon Dolby.
Well, like so many players, he's not the tallest, Kieran Carlson, but he that so often so powerful square of the wicket and tying the ball so well.
Hello, helmet coming out. Is it short leg or keeper
no,
standing up?
he's going to stand up, I think, here, Michael Burgess. And this does happen quite a bit with Hannon Dolby in the Championship.
Right.
There's an unusual situation in the Championship game at Canterbury the other week where both opening bowlers operated with the keeper standing up to the stumps with the new ball. Hannon Dolby bowls, and Carlson, notwithstanding the fact that he's got to stay in his crease a bit more, he's still pushing away and finding a short single on the leg side to move to 17 already.
Yeah, he's obviously looking to drop it into the gaps, doesn't he? And he's quick off the mark. Let's hope for the Glamorgan point of view that Sam Northeast reads them equally well.
It was an odd view the other week to see Chris Rushworth and Ollie Hannon Dolby taking the new ball and the keeper standing up to the stumps, but
against Rushworth, good luck to him.
yeah, it was surprisingly effective. Hannon Dolby is approaching again and forward very correctly this time. Here's Sam Northeast, pushes out on the the offside. I understand. We were talking a little bit towards the end of the first innings about outgrounds, and I can appreciate that it isn't necessarily as easy as it once was, for all sorts of reasons. Not least because of all the paraphernalia that county clubs have these days. I mean, even this morning, as I was finding my way in, out of the Warwickshire bus, there were armfuls of gear coming out that even 10 years ago wouldn't have been considered. But so it's a much more of an operation to take a team on the road now than it used to be. This is outside the off stump, and the northeast isn't playing a stroke, and it's through to the keeper. There's all the gubbins that we're using here, which once upon a time wouldn't have been a consideration. You just said, well, we're taking the game to wherever, and you roll a pitch, rock up, and here we are. But it's not quite the same.
Well, there wasn't a ball-by-ball service from all parts of the empire that there is these days.
Maybe that's something to do with
It's the county streaming.
Hello, streamers. Here's Hannon Dolby on his way, and this is played carefully by Northeast. He's gliding it off the face of the bat, almost down to third man. And they have won. So 6 overs are complete, 39 for 2. So at least, even though 2 wickets have fallen, Glamorgan are ticking some runs off this very large target. And Carlson has gone up to 17 and Northeast 8.
Yeah, Glamorgan's travels to North Wales, Colwyn Bay. They played at usually a championship match at least for quite a few years, but sadly that was interrupted by COVID and with changes in local personnel and demands on the council. As off the back foot, firmly punched by Northeast, nicely timed towards the hospitality tent. It was tantalising the fielder Will Rhodes there, just running a few metres ahead of them, and he almost landed in the tent in time for a prawn cocktail. 43 for 2.
Well, you'd have to get in the queue, I think, judging by the noise that was coming in there earlier.
Probably be the cheesecake and the desserts by now, wouldn't it, rather than the prawn cocktails.
Sure won't be left, but we've seen some of the best timed strokes of the day in the last 10 minutes.
Barnard from the Oakwood Road end to Northeast, keeper standing up, and Northeast plays back the bowler who flicks it to cover. And there's no run. 43 for 2, chasing 332. So unfortunate that they haven't managed to resume the North Wales link. I think they explored potentially playing it at the school ground as well, which is a possibility. Hopefully we can get that back on the Glamorgan schedule as forward comes Northeast to defend. Because a lot of the South Wales fans enjoy travelling. It's quite often a bit of a draw for a Midlands or a Northern visiting county. And of course it helps the feeling that Glamorgan is meant to be representing the whole of Wales. So whether it's a couple of one-dayers or a championship match, fingers crossed again for next year. It is under constant discussion, as that is angled away by Northeast, backward of point, just the single this time as Lintott runs round from third man and does the 44 for 2 in this 7th over.
I've done that journey out to Colwyn Bay. It was the most. I packed up my call box and went. It was just a gorgeous day to drive along that road along the north coast. I can't remember. They were playing. Steve James scored loads of runs. I remember that.
He usually did.
Generally did, yeah.
Barnard in. Bowls. Driven by Carlson straight to mid on no run. Yes, a small ground. I remember having to, with our effects microphone on the boundary, we had to turn it down once when the Yorkshire fast bowler Steve Kirby was running up from close to the boundary and giving himself some very colourful encouragement as he did so. It wasn't aimed at anyone else. There's a bit of effing and jeffing. As that's run by Carlson down towards third man for a single, 45 for 2.
That's a radio producing problem I more associate with other times of the year, but at stadiums I won't mention. 45, we've all been there. 45 for 2 in 7 overs. It's not the same conditions as it was earlier, is it? It's clouded over a bit. I mean, it's still nice. I mean, these days you don't complain, do you, the way the last few weeks have been?
After that, and possibly the weather in South Wales. I haven't checked the Midlands forecast, but looks as though there'll be a bit of precipitation around yet again on Saturday.
No, it's not good for the club cricketers, is it?
Absolutely terrible.
Hannon Dolby to start over number 8 at 45 for 2, and this is full and driven down the ground by Carlson. There's going to be runs here as the outfield maybe is just a little bit quicker than it was this morning, but Chake wasn't catching that anyway. And Carlson driving another handsome stroke. He's up to 22. And Glamorgan standing up to the challenge here after both the openers fell in Hannon Dolby's first 2 overs. Sets off again, starts his run at about the edge of the 30-yard circle, which means it's about 7 strides for him. And it's outside the off-stump. Carlson shaped as if he was going to try and guide that down towards third man, but he didn't. I'm sure that the Welsh club cricket scene has been as badly affected as certainly at times around the Midlands it has.
Yes, I mean the big, better resource clubs have been able to sort of scramble in games here and there. But certainly at the level I play at.
Well, yes. My boys have had a few games called off. Hannon Dolby bowls, and Carlson is this time trying to guide it to third man, but he doesn't really time it, and so it's cut off on its way round from backward point. And there isn't a run. 49 for 2 it remains. It's quite muggy here at the moment. Quite close. But
yeah, that's possibly one of the reasons helping Hannon Dolby get a bit of swing on the ball.
If there's any lateral movement to be had, he's the man to find it. Pulling his shirt off his shoulders a bit. It's getting a bit sticky. And in he goes again, passes the umpire and bowls to Carlson, who swings across the line of that, and it misses everything, and Burgess doesn't take it either. It bounces off, I think, the wicket-keeper's pad and goes for a bye. Glamorgan's 50th run, but Carlson will have been glad not to hear anything wooden after missing that, I reckon.
Yeah, that was a bit of a change of tempo attempted by Kieran Carlson. A bit of a swipe, looked rather ugly at first viewing.
He was aiming at us, Nick, I'm afraid. We are very much at deep mid-wicket at the moment. Ethan Brooks is back on the field, I see, after going off in the first over. Hannon Dolby bowls, and this is played more elegantly by North East, off his toes, and it's very well chased by Shake, who takes half the outfield with him from a particularly soft patch.
Please replace your divots.
Brooks is going to do it for him, but it was the sort of chase that we all did when we were 17. And he hauls it back and means it's only 2 runs.
Well, when I was 17, you weren't expected to throw yourself at that sort of ball.
Well, that's true. I was on the deceleration by then. 52 for 2.
But on the other hand, it's nice and soft for the landing. Even if you go head and over heels, it shouldn't be hurt.
These days, it's the getting up that's the problem. Here's Hannon Dolby bowls, and it's defended by Carlson by North East on the walk. He walks 3 or 4 strides, holding the bat in front of himself, holding the pose. 7 from the over, 52 for 2. Glamorgan in 8 overs, so they are more or less with the required rate, although there's a long way to go. For the loss of Bevan 3 and Byram 10, but Carlson 22 and North East 15 are making good enough progress at the moment.
Well, Duckworth Lewis, which has popped up on the mid-left of the scoreboard, appears to be 87 at the moment, if I'm reading that correctly. So Glamorgan are behind the rate a bit as far as Duckworth Lewis is concerned, as Craig Miles takes over from Ed Barnard, who's bowled just the 4 overs. 52 for 2 in 8. As tall figure of Miles, the former Gloucestershire man. Glamorgan will have seen a lot of over the years in the West Country colours. Bowls, and Carlson on the back foot defends to mid-wicket, and there's no run. Looking at my own club second 11's fortunes in the last 5 weekends since I last played. Reads abandoned, rained off, rained off, rained off, and rained off.
Right, unbeaten.
So our boys have been on the field precisely 20 overs in the last 5 weeks. Some miss much. Unavailable for a couple and not picked for several. Disgrace. Miles bowls, Carlson pulls hard through mid-wicket, and almost a superb piece of fielding by the man on the mid-wicket boundary, who hurled himself at it, didn't quite get to it, and 4 runs to Kieran Carlson. Short ball pulled away. Fielder out there, Kai Smith, gave it a good charge.
It was a good chase, but there's not been much future in bowling short today.
Miles bowls. Carlson plays it into the offside straight to shake at points, and there's no run. There's just no pace in the pitches there.
No.
It just sits up and
Sits up.
asks for it on some occasions. Still some spectators on the move. Perhaps a post-lunch ice cream. Just delayed it a bit to beat the queues.
But now you've got to find your seat. Which one is it? So the
sure
slow march is on again on the far side.
Make sure you've left something on it to bag your place. Miles bowls. Carlson goes over the top safely. Didn't middle it. I don't think it's going to go for 4. It will be just a couple. It was over mid-on, but safely chipped with all the fielders in at this stage. 2 runs, 58 for 2.
The odds were in his favour, but it didn't sound the cleanest contact. Dropped about 15 yards behind mid-off, so he's all right.
3-3-2 the target for Glamorgan. Up with the rate, but lost 2 early wickets. Miles bowls, and Carlson hammers that one through mid-wicket for 4 more. Smith needn't bother to chase that one. And Kieran Carlson is striking the ball very nicely at the moment, and Miles needs to just forget about bowling back of a length, pitch it up.
Yeah, you can't be short, because that's going to happen a lot, and particularly with a player as adept as Kieran Carlson, who had scored a few before he found the middle of the bat, but he's now finding it very regularly.
Yeah, edged his first couple off an inside edge. Then a turn of the wrist sends this one down towards backward square, and should be an easy couple of runs, just working the ball wristily down to backward square. 64 for 2. Carlson has 34 of them and is going well. That is the end of the 9th over here on BBC Sport Online. 3-3-2 is the target. Warwickshire's 3-3-1 for 7. Based around 102 from Rob Yates, who was 3rd out. Ed Barnard 79. They put on 188 for the first wicket, 1 short of Warwickshire's first wicket record in limited overs cricket. Contributions down the order from Ethan Brooks, Hamza Sheikh, while Will Rhodes held it all together.
Yes, but Glamorgan have knocked the top off the chase. That wasn't a very pretty first over from Craig Miles. But it needs a bit of cricket, like his fellow Gloucestershire teammate who followed him up, or came with him about the same time to Edgbaston, Liam Norwell. Neither of them have had the best of luck with injuries. Hannon Dolby bowls and hits northeast in a place where nobody should ever be hit, and that's a bit sore. And he's friendless at the moment. Poor old northeast. He'll be all right in a minute.
Kieran Carlson wandering down the wicket, and I think is calling for a bit of medical attention. So just a little time out for Sam Northeast, who has hit amidships by that one. Just jagged back in.
Off the inside edge.
Off the inside edge, yes, or the glove, and hit him centrally.
Yes, I'm not sure I was mad keen to watch that replay, but by the sound of it, quite a few of our colleagues were.
Down he went like a sack of spuds.
Yes. Oh dear. Poor
no.
chap.
It's only moral support, really, and a drink that can be offered in this circumstance. And
yes.
Well, that was bullseye, I'm afraid, and self-inflicted to a certain extent. And Northeast is taking his time, and quite rightly.
Yes, and Warwickshire are going to have a bit of a drink and a regroup at that point. And Glamorgan don't need anything to interrupt their momentum at the moment, because they've been progressing quite smoothly in the last 20 minutes.
No, I did see Mark Wallace, the former Glamorgan captain and wicketkeeper, hit in a similar manner at Northampton, and as North East is doing, he took a long time to recover from that blow, and then about 10 minutes later tore his hamstring while batting. So it wasn't his day, and it ended his run of 230 odd championship games for Glamorgan, which was understandably a record, and a sorry way in which to see it end.
Yes, I mean, everybody finds it mildly amusing to start with, unless it's you. But actually, this isn't very amusing for poor old Sam Northeast, and he's right to take his time. And I think the umpires will be reasonably sympathetic. Warwickshire have had a bit of a chat. Well, there's a pause. So there's a slight diversion. I mentioned one or two of the records that Warwickshire's openers eclipsed or nearly eclipsed earlier. And they rubbed out an old Warwickshire record against Glamorgan set by Dennis Amiss and John Jameson
All right.
in 1976. That was the previous highest one-day partnership for Warwickshire against Glamorgan.
And what was that? What was the figure?
I think it was 135,
right.
but it was went well past it. But that was at the Coventry ground, the Courtaulds ground in Coventry. And John in the Netherlands, who I assume is one of our streamers, said, I've just heard your reference to the Courtaulds cricket ground, which takes me back to the days I saw Warwickshire play there. I worked about a mile away, says John, and after work I'd pop along to see the last couple of hours of games. I particularly remember watching Fred Gardner batting with Tom Cartwright, probably in the early 60s, and Eric Hollies and Tom Dollery I saw in the 1950s, which are both fondly remembered in parts of Edgbaston. The Hollies stand, most people now associate with the place where you
Party
go for a
time.
party or a stag do, but actually it commemorates Warwickshire's record wicket taker. A record that he will probably still have long after we're all gone these days.
Yeah, can't get in unless you're in fancy dress, it seems, these days.
No.
Sam Northeast still having a chat with the Glamorgan physios, and a long break for his blow in a painful central area. And that's one of the longest hold-ups I've seen for that sort of injury. 64 without loss. 64 for 2 rather, Glamorgan chasing 3-3-2. Tom Cartwright, of course, played a season for Glamorgan at the tail end of his career. And then went on to do a lot of... He's a very well respected coach after that.
Yes.
Did a lot of coaching work in Wales as well, and no doubt influenced a whole generation of youngsters. He was also, by the end of his career, maybe not the fastest in the field, and saw him field the ball on the boundary once, and the batsman has run out trying to take a 4th run.
Tactics.
Which I don't think I've seen ever before or since.
Oh dear. Right, North East back on his feet, and Hannon Dolby's going to bowl to him, and North East is forward defending out on the offside, which is quite bravely in the circumstances to be coming forward, and hopefully he's all right.
Yeah,
So that wasn't a lot of fun.
Pretty understandable that that the shot after a hold up like that is a defensive push.
Well, I'd be doing it from 4 feet outside the leg stump if it was me, but you know, this is what he's paid for. 64 for 2. Hannon Dolby is having North East going back in the crease here and forcing the straight bat out to extra cover. We are in the 10th over, so the fielding restrictions, they don't disappear, but they're relaxed after 10 overs. So they can't just graze where they want. But the restriction allowing only 2 outside the circle is lifted, and that, I think, judging by the ballet moves he's pulling on the outfield, I think that's going to mean the introduction of Jake Lintott, the left arm wrist spinner. He's had 2 very good games so far in this competition. Hannon Dolby bowls, and North East is forward, driving up to Lintott at mid-on, and there's no run. It stays 64 for 2. Both wickets to Oliver Hannon Dolby. So anyway, thank you for your email, John. It's been a while somebody will perhaps tell me when Warwickshire last played a first-team game in Coventry, but it's been a good long time. Stratford, I think, was the last outground they played a 4-day game at, but that's gone by a few years now. At Swan's Nest Lane, which is a lovely place. On the back foot goes northeast here and takes one hand off the bat as he hits it into the ground. To Barnard at backward point.
So is there any outground cricket at all this season?
No, it hasn't been for a little while now, not since the 2020 games at Rugby School, which were before the pandemic.
Yeah,
so,
Glamorgan were involved in one of those, I seem to remember.
They are still building up the sort of second venue that Warwickshire have got. They've put a bit of money into, which is also in Birmingham, and they've built up the facilities there. A lot of second-team cricket goes on at Portland Road. Forward comes northeast and completes a maiden from Hannon Dolby. 64 for 2 in 10 overs. Glamorgan, northeast is just about present and correct, and he's 15, and Carlson is 34.
So 33 coming off the first 5, 31 runs off the second 5. Warwickshire were 46 without loss after 10 overs. It's really from the 15 over mark onwards they started to accelerate. 60 on the board at 15 overs, 92 after 20, 125 at halfway, and then they put the foot on the accelerator after the drinks break. Well predicted. You've been watching Warwickshire before, as Lintott is on to bowl from the Oakwood Road end, the 11th over of the innings.
Well, he'd either been told to, or he was trying to tell the captain, because you'd only get yourself in that sort of predicament on the outfield if you were going to do something. I'd be exhausted after a warm-up like that, but that's what you have athletes for.
Shortish shaven-headed figure, Lintott, tossing the ball from one hand to another as he's in with a whirl and a twirl, and Carlson works it into the leg side, and it's well fielded at mid-wicket by Barnard.
It's you were talking about earlier, there's been something of the fairy tale about Lintott's relatively brief career so far.
Ball's now reverse sweep, and that's beaten the dive at backward point, even of Hannon Dolby, and it's run away for 4 runs. So Carlson quickly assessing his options. Hannon Dolby, all 6'7" of him, was spread-eagled on the turf, but the ball beat him. 38 to Carlson, 68 for 2. But it is something of a risk, almost the reverse, so Lintott won't necessarily be discouraged as Carlson goes for a conventional sweep. The ball runs away for a couple. It's picked up just inside the boundary. Was there bottom edge on that, or was it buys? Oh, a little bit of a bottom edge.
He tickled maybe. It, but he certainly wasn't in control.
Went virtually directly behind the keeper. 70 for 2. Carlson to 40. Lintott bowls. Carlson cuts. Will get a single out to Shake, running around the cover boundary in front of the pavilion, and he fires his throw directly into the gloves of keeper Burgess. 71 for 2. Lintott just moving Hannon Dolby a little bit finer at backward point, come short third man. Driven by northeast to mid-off. Single, 72 for 2.
I wonder whether they might put third man back with Carlson on strike anyway, because he seems to like this reverse. They're going to move him a bit finer by the look of it.
Well, I suppose there's the temptation off the reverse sweep and get a catch if you're up in the circle. Lintott bowls and Carlson forward, driving back to the bowler. No run. 72 for 2 after 11 overs, chasing 332 in 50. So the reserve ground, is that reasonably close to Edgbaston?
Yeah, it's not far away.
Yeah.
It's sort of within on the Birmingham Black Country border, really. So it's not far off. It's a good facility. They've invested a bit in that.
The example that Middlesex might feel advised to follow, because they really struggle, obviously, being forced to play so much outside Lords because it's not their ground. And I've been long surprised that they don't sort of choose a second home on the outskirts of North London and stick some money into developing a firm home rather than wandering round Radlett, Northwood and other points around the M25.
Well, they've had all sorts, haven't they? Uxbridge and Southgate, I think, are still in the mat.
Yeah, they played at Richmond, the home of London Welsh Rugby, which used to play Glamorgan there at one point, which always went down well with the Welsh contingent in London.
I think this is a change of ends for Craig Miles, who's come to the Dufford Road end, and his first ball from there, he's turned off the pads by North East into the leg side. So he bowled one over from the Oakwood Road end, and that was within the first power play, and then he's given way to Lintop there. And he's having to go from our left now, not that it means anything to you, those of you watching the screen, because we're almost square onto the wicket, but from the Dufford Road end. And he has North East driving here, firmly out through the covers for 1 run. And North East is 17 and looks to have settled back down after his moments of discomfort. Some of the cloud cover that we had for a short while is lifted. It's gone over the hills to our right at the moment. I don't think it's ever threatening rain. It doesn't look like that, but it's just a bit brighter and a bit fresher. Miles bowls, and this is turned firmly to Yates at mid-wicket. And this time there isn't a run. It's Carlson Fields.
Just received some sort of good and bad news from the weekend. Our club will have a W and 20 points in the table.
Oh.
The opposition have conceded.
Oh.
Yes, that's just what you don't need
Yeah,
after
it's a bit
4 or
sad, isn't
5 rain-offs in a row.
Yeah. That's not so good. Pity. Here's Miles bowls, and this is hit firmly down the ground. Carlson leaves a trail of destruction here because both the non-striker and the bowler fell over trying to get out of the way of it. And it's just hauled in from inside the boundary, and they have 2 runs. I don't know, did Miles run into North East? But he was trying to stop it. North East was trying to get out of the way, and I thought they were all going to end up in a heap for a moment. They've got 2 runs.
Yeah, North East's taken enough punishment in this innings over
Yes.
the last month, really.
Yes. Who knew it was such a dangerous job? 75 for 2. And at the moment, Glamorgan are going along at quite a good clip. Miles bowls, and they're feeding that drive, and a misfield by Hannon Dolby costs 4 runs. It was inside the circle at mid-on. He's looking accusingly at a bit of turf and slapping it, admonishing it. But the ground's won because he's gone away for 4 runs.
Well, when you're 6'7", it's a long way down.
It is. It's even further back up. It was sweetly hit, but it'd have been 4 in a club game, since we're talking about those. But these games, and Ollie Hannadol will be cross, he didn't stop it. 79 for 2, and there might be more runs here. That is a good stop by Yates, down to his right at mid-wicket. And Carlson remains then 47. He's faced only 31 deliveries. And he, the Glamorgan captain, is powering their reply to Warwickshire's 331 for 7 at 79 for 2 in 12.
Long, long way to go. Billy Root, the next man in, experience. Then they've got the youngsters Callaway and Horton, and the inexperienced Ul Hassan, who is making his Glamorgan debut in the One Day Cup. He has played, I think, a List A game somewhere before. But this is his first Glamorgan appearance in this format. Born in Pakistan, brought up in the Midlands though. As Lintott starts a new over, that's short and fenced through the offside through by North East. Is their second run there? Hamza Sheikh is getting the ball and hurling it towards the non-striker's end, but Carlson, the quicker of the two, is running towards that end and was home safely. 81 for 2. North East moves gingerly to 19.
I thought he looked quite sparky, Ul Hassan. His bowling spells.
As that is driven by Northeast up towards mid-off. There's a slight misfield there. There might have been a single there, but they were expecting, I think, it to be might have been the second run there rather. There was a single. Yeah, no, Al-Hassan bowls a nice tight medium pace. Glamorgan just needs someone to bowl above medium pace, really, as they have been short of speed this season once Nisa went. Lintott bowls, Carlson sweeps, will get just the single, down to fine leg.
Well, he's in charge of their little contest here at the moment, Lintott, Carlson against Lintott, because he was down very early to that. He's already had one or two successful strokes against him.
Northeast steps back and cuts and doesn't time it. Yes, that is the nature of soft wickets at this time of year after the rain we've had. Even with the covers on, a little bit soft, and Northeast head it straight to cover. This time he turns it into a full toss, take the pitch out of the equation and drives it elegantly up to long on for a single.
He's been a wicket-taking bowler in this competition so far, Jake Lintott, so he's an attacking rather than a defending spinner.
Yeah, well, if they take wickets, they'll really have Glamorgan on the back foot. Hannon Dolby having done the job with that early double. As Lintott into bowl. Carson's gone inside out, over extra cover, one bounce. 4 runs up to the scoreboard, and that is Kieran Carlson's half century off just 33 deliveries. So well batted to Kieran Carlson.
Yes, the fastest half century of the day by some margin, and although there were 1 or 2 shaky moments at the start, he has timed the ball very sweetly, and he's given this Glamorgan reply such a push since the 2 early wickets that they are staying more or less neck and neck with the required rate all the way so far.
His first 6 runs were very fortunate, but all off the inside edge. But since then, 8 genuine boundaries. 88 for 2 in 13, chasing 332. About time for Kenneth Davis to do some work, I think, as he'll replace me in the commentary stint. I know you've got a... We've both got 4 o'clock.
I'll pop off at 4 o'clock.
We've both got 4 o'clock, so we'll have to leave Ken single-handed then.
In comes Miles, starts a new over, and there's a good drive out to extra cover. It's well fielded by Ethan Brooks, though. Moves in very smartly to stop that. 88 for 2 in over number 14. Just feels like there's a very long way to go in this chase, Kenneth, but it just feels like the first time today where it's not Warwickshire making the running.
No, they've hit back well. They've consolidated after those early 2 wickets.
Miles bounces in, and that's driven very firmly and half stopped by Miles in his follow through.
But I think what you're seeing is a man in extremely good nick in Kieran Carlson.
He looks it, doesn't he?
It's just the sound of the bat. He's timing everything very well. As I mentioned earlier, he not struggled, but had an indifferent start to the T20s, but he made a rapid 50 of 15 balls in the last game against Middlesex.
Well, there's runs to be had there. That's nicely timed by Northeast as well, and a really good excellent stop on the boundary, right in front of us by Sheikh. You might even have heard him cutting the grass with his knee as he came across, and he's left about an 8-foot-long scar in the turf. But it was a fine stop to turn what looked like 4 into 2.
Indeed, he had ground to cover.
Nips around in the field, Hamza Sheikh.
He looks a hot prospect.
Made his first team debut last season in this competition at 16, so they reckon him a bit. He's going to be in action again here as Northeast turns one that's a little bit fuller and straighter off his toes, and this time Sheikh keeps them down to 1. Went to school, I gather, in the Perry Bar area of northwest Birmingham. Was, I think I'm right in saying, with Smethwick, but he's now with Gnoll and Dorridge, another very well-established club.
You must be well thought of if you're playing county cricket at 16.
Yeah, I'll say. He's clearly one they have a lot of hopes for. Miles bowls, and this is driven into the covers and half stopped by Brooks, who tips it round an invisible goalpost. And they have one out to the deep extra cover boundary, where Michael Booth, who will be hoping that he gets his first bowl for Warwickshire in a few moments.
Of course, Carlson has taken on the responsibility of captaincy in all formats of the game, given David Lloyd's absence in the T20 competition.
Well, he's bearing the responsibility well at the moment. Miles bowls, and Northeast adjusts late and pushes this out square on the offside. It's the end of the over, 4 runs from it. Miles none for 23 in 3, and Glamorgan 92 for 2 after 14 overs, repairing some of the damage from when they were 17 for 2, having lost the 2 openers, both to Oliver Hannon Dolby. The target is 332, if you weren't with us earlier, underpinned by Rob Yates' century. 102, and Ed Barnard 79, Will Rhodes 44. A few lively contributions from the youngsters got them to 331.47. And now Warwickshire's captain Will Rhodes is going to see if these slightly muggy conditions will be just right for him to wobble his medium paces a bit.
Yeah, I thought there might have been a shower in the air earlier, but we've seemed to have survived so far. Sun still piercing through the clouds here at the Gnoll, with Glamorgan 92 for 2 in riposte to Warwickshire. The target is still a hefty 332. Rhodes coming in from the Oakwood Road end. Banged that one in short, and it will be called a wide. So they have recovered, as Mike was mentioning. At one point, Glamorgan was 17 for 2 with the men out. Eddie Byram caught Ed Barnard, bowled Hannon Dolby for 10. Tom Bevan caught Rhodes, bowled Hannon Dolby for 3. So a rear guard action as Rhodes comes in, fuller ball, and that's a cracking off drive past the man at wide mid-off, and it'll go for 4.
Well, nobody has played better than this today. For all the runs that Warwickshire made, Kieran Carlson now 57, his 10th boundary, and they have all, apart from the first one, been accelerated off the middle of the bat.
And I tell you, for a man of, what, 5'10", 5'9", 5'10", he doesn't half get some power behind it as Rhodes comes in from the Oakwood Road end past the umpire. Short of the length ball, and Carlson tries to run that one down, third man, but it's intercepted, no run.
It's timing, though, isn't it?
It is timing, yeah.
Well, it is. He's not the tallest, very powerful square of the wicket, as we've seen, but we've seen an array of drives down the ground just lately.
The worry will be, I'm sure many a county will have an eye on Kieran Carlson as Rhodes comes in. The ram shot that time just uses the pace of the ball. Will plug, though, it won't go all the way, and they'll pick up a couple. Premeditated shot by Kieran Carlson, but we've seen a few of those ram shots not quite having the legs to go to the distance.
Sign of a player who's confident, though, isn't he? Can score literally all round the wicket.
He can, yeah. Just slipped on the way through as well, and he will take guard as Rhodes ambles in, bowls Fuller, and that's caressed into the offside. And that'll be Glamorgan's 100 coming in the 15th over. 100 for 2, so they've repaired some of the damage inflicted upon them early on.
By way of comparison, Warwickshire's 100 was raised in the 22nd over, but they went in a more traditional path of one-day cricket.
They did. And that's hit firmly. Rhodes field, there's no run. So the big thing for Glamorgan here is going to be wickets. They don't need to do anything drastic at the moment.
Well, they've still got batting to come. Billy Root, of course, who's, as per card, be next.
Kellaway can bat. After that, you're slightly worried as Rhodes comes in. Good length ball, and there's no run down to mid-off again. So another profitable over for Glamorgan. Carlson still there, 60 off 38. There's been some fine knock, supported by a resolute Sam Northeast after the 15th at 100 for 2.
Well, they're in the game, and it's all making for good entertainment for a very full crowd here in Neath. There are a few empty seats in the one stand near the sight screen at the Oakwood Road end, but I think it's just people moving about. People have gone to the tent or get refreshments, and there's plenty of those. But it's been a very good turnout.
Yeah, just they don't get much county cricket in these parts now, and they're enjoying it.
Yes, and all the more so having lost the game on Tuesday, which is very unfortunate. Miles bowls down the leg side, and it swung away, well timed, but Hannon Dolby this time is down to stop it at long leg, and so they've only had one. Carlson 61.
Now, to be fair, for someone of 6'7",
yeah,
not the easiest task.
No, he gets down well, but from the wrong angle, he looks like a sort of collapsing clothes horse. But he's down to stop the ball.
Sideways movement early on. That seems to have gone now.
Yes, bowled with great skill in the first few overs, as he's done so often over the last few years for Warwickshire. His record in the last 2 or 3 years is outstanding in all competitions. Has pushed into the offside by Northeast. There's no run. Hannon Dolby was past 50 wickets in the championship last year. He's well on the way to doing it again this year, and it's not with pace, but it's with control of the sideways movement. Obviously, he gets awkward bounce, finds ways to get good players out. This is full from Miles and driven by Northeast, slightly off balance, but he hits it securely up to mid-off, where it's fielded by Booth. The seamer, the one change to the Warwickshire team from the side that won against Gloucestershire on Monday. Booth replacing Danny Briggs, who has gone back to the 100. Off goes Miles. A bouncy, springy approach, and an elegant drive by Northeast brings him 4 runs through the covers.
Classic Northeast, that is.
He moves, when he's playing well, Northeast, he sort of seems to move into position slowly, but it's as if the game slows down for him. And it's all flowing and beautiful stroke.
Yeah, he's not the typical T20 player. He's more elegant, usually, in his shot making, as we saw there.
Well, there's plenty of ways to score good runs, and these are good quality runs scored by Northeast. And he gets another one, not quite in such a memorable way, because he comes off a thick outside edge down to third man.
Yeah, he was a good acquisition for the club last year, Sam Northeast. Plenty of experience. Wasn't easy for him. He's got family still down in Kent, and he's involved in all formats.
No, it must have been a big commitment for him, but he's more than proved his worth. Brighter in the last few minutes. It's a lovely sight looking at the hills opposite us at the moment as Miles bowls, and that got a bit of extra nip, and Carlson is caught by Burgess, and Carlson's very disappointed. He's looking at the umpire. It carried low to Burgess to his right, but there've only been the odd delivery that's just bounced a little bit more, and whether it took the glove or the shoulder of the bat. But Carlson is out for 61, caught by Burgess off Miles, and it's 106 for 3, and the batsman's not happy.
Well, it caught him by surprise. It was uneven, and that's why he stuck around. It just zipped off the wicket, just caught something, and yeah, he just fended one off. I think he wasn't surprised. He definitely nicked it, obviously, but I think he was just surprised at the way it came off. Just a bit more zip and bounce.
Yes, it's the extra bounce that he couldn't control. He's looking back at the umpire. I wondered for a moment whether he was looking at the umpire to see was that a clean catch, because it was taken low by Burgess, but on the replay there we can see it sort of lodged into the top of Burgess's glove as he goes down for it. So it was certainly a clean catch, but Carlson's pretty cross. He's cut off at 61, having looked full of runs today, and that's potentially the most important wicket in the match.
It is the big blow. He was in fine form. He was going well. And that's the breakthrough that Warwickshire wanted.
So the baton's going to pass to someone else to take up the running now, and maybe it'll be North East, or maybe Billy Root, who has come out at number 5 to try and keep the pace high.
Yeah, Billy Root, the new man. But it was the end of the over, so Sam North East will take guard, and it will be Rhodes, I think, will continue from the Oakwood Road end. So Glamorgan losing their 3rd wicket at the end of the 16th over. They're 106 for 3, North East at the crease. Here comes Rhodes past the umpire. Good length ball, that's dabbed down, but it'll be cut off at backward point, and there's no run.
I wonder whether they might be tempted to bring Lintott back shortly then. He bowled only 2 overs, and Carlson was playing him so well that he was withdrawn. But a new batter in to face the wrist spinner with 1 or 2 unpredictable tricks might be a different gambit.
Here comes Captain Rhodes. That's firmly struck, but it's fielded by the bowler. And there's no run. Still muggy conditions here in Neath, but a full day's play.
And they've deserved it, the club here, Neath, because it must have been a rotten day on Tuesday, because it takes a lot of effort from the local club to get a game like this on.
Rhodes coming in. Struck firmly once more, and there's no run for Sam North East.
So I'm very glad that conditions were fit. They're not perfect, as you wouldn't expect them to be. The outfield is still pretty soft in parts, and I'm sure that well, they brought the boundary in a little bit, didn't they, on this side? But everybody wants to play. The game is on, and it's all good.
Rhodes got over so far. It's cut, bit of width for North East to work with, but a man down at 3rd man. Just the single. Well, it's in stark contrast to June, where it was like scorched earth.
It has been
such so barren there. That's why we had a full complement of games in the T20 competition, and that's why they moved it. I remember so many games being rained off when it was later in the calendar. It's a 6 of one, half a dozen the other, because they probably would like more school kids in July. As Root whips that round the corner. Great timing. It's not going to go for 4. It's going to be cut off by Sheikh, and they'll come through for a couple.
That was well judged in the end, but only just. I don't think you want to be taking too many liberties to Sheikh on this boundary.
No, he can shift.
Yeah, but they're back. I'm just going to leave you temporarily, and either me or Nick will come back. We'll arm wrestle for it.
We shall hear from you in due course. Thanks, Mike. As Rhodes comes in, forward offensive from Root into the offside. And there's a single, 109 for 3. And that is the end of Will Rhodes. Is over. So Glamorgan just being pegged back by the loss of Kieran Carlson, who was motoring along. Caught by Burgess off the bowling of Miles for 61. Just caught the back of the bat, and it went through to the wicket-keeper, which was unfortunate because it was a neat little partnership being built between Carlson and North East. But Carlson the man to depart. Root has come in, and he will take guard. Miles the bowler from the Dyfed Road end. Left-handed Root. And that's squeezed out into the offside, backward of point, and it is a single. Still glorious conditions here at the Gnoll from our vantage position, looking towards the rugby club. 111 Nelson comes up 4-3. Sam Northeast will face, unbeaten on 30 from 47 balls. He's methodically gone about his business, losing Carlson 2 overs ago. Here comes Miles past the umpire, slashed into the offside, but not cleanly struck, and they will think about a second, but they'll think otherwise. 112 for 3. Northeast 31. Root is unbeaten on 4. The required target still a hefty one of 332, and the run rate has slipped up to 6.7 in the 18th. As Miles wheels round past the umpire, full ball that time, and that struck into the offside, but there's a man out on the offside boundary and shake, and it is a single. So Glamorgan have to regroup after the loss of the danger man Kieran Carlson, and Northeast and Root will have to build another partnership as Miles ambles in past the umpire. Fullish, and that stopped at point, and that a good shot for nothing from Sam Northeast. 2 balls to go in this over. Craig Miles took the all-important wicket of Kieran Carlson, wheels round the Dyfed Road end, comes in past the umpire, dug in short that time, and that's engineered into the onside, but there's no run. 113 for 3, just the last ball to go in Craig Miles' over, and just 3 runs coming off it, so they've pegged Glamorgan back in terms of the run rate. That's upped to 6.8. As Miles coming in, and that's well fielded by Miles on the return as he comes through, and just 3 coming off Craig Miles is over, so definitely they've put some pressure back with that 3rd wicket of Kieran Carlson, and Glamorgan after 18 still beyond where Warwickshire were, but runs have dried up a bit as I'm rejoined by Mike Taylor.
Yes, wickets do that, didn't they? Don't they, sometimes? And we saw a hiccup in the middle of Warwickshire's big score when they lost 3 wickets in 4 overs, and it did take them some time to find their balance again before going on to, in the end, post a score that is still chaseable, but it's more difficult, certainly, since Carlson's departure. Will Rhodes starts the 19th over, and Root adjusts late and jabs the bat down on it, pushes the ball out on the offside. Because
you've just got to regain the momentum, that's the problem. You've got to restart.
And particularly if you lose a player who is going as well as Carlson was. He's 61, used up only 40 deliveries. And it took, there was no pressure on Sam Newell. He could just play quite normally. Whereas now the onus is maybe having to move to others. Root guides this ball down to 3rd man, and they'll have 1.
Yeah, he was just a perfect foil for Carlson, who is the shot maker and up in the ante.
And that's fine, but now he's gone. Someone else is going to have to take on the responsibility when it is such a big number that you're looking for. Lintot's doing a bit of warming up, so he might be coming back soon. Rhodes in his 3rd over, and this one slides off the face of Northeast's bat and goes down to Hannon Dolby, who is very wide at 3rd man, almost deep backward point, and they have 1 run. Northeast is 32, and it's 115 for 3. Root a left-hander. Keeper is up to the stumps. I think he'll be staying there all the way through now. Round the wicket comes Rhodes, and Root is driving away on the offside.
Didn't have
no run. Only for Miles, I think he'll be back. I think otherwise he'll be up to the stumps for Hannon Dolby and Rhodes, certainly.
And more equipped, I think, in this format, Billy Root. He didn't have the best T20 campaign.
Rhodes comes around the wicket, and this is just guided possibly off an outside edge. It went very fine indeed by Root, but it looks as though he did it on purpose, and it's gone for 1 run all the same.
Yeah, I think that was premeditated, but saved at the boundary, so just a single, so 32 not out is Sam Northeast. Billy Root is 7 of 8. Target 332, thanks largely to that brilliant innings by Robbie Yates, 102.
Rhodes bowls, and might have been a genuine edge, but it's going fine for 4 runs. I'm quite sure Barnard's got his hands on his head at backward point, but Northeast picks up 4 anyway, and he might feel he's due a bit of good fortune. He's 36 and Root 7, and it's 120 for 3, and we've had 19 overs with 31 to go.
And a boundary they probably needed to relieve a bit of pressure. Just a few dot balls, a few singles, premeditated and went fine.
Another change, and a first opportunity for Michael Booth. It's a big moment for any player. His first bowl in senior county cricket. He's 22.
South African?
Yeah, it's a Zimbabwean born, I'm told, but has spent a bit, was a Durham University student.
Yeah.
He's a contemporary of Chris Benjamin, who's been part of Warwickshire setup for the last little while. So here he is.
So medium pace bowler past the umpire, fullish, and that struck well for no run on the offside. Still plenty of time left in this game. Batting to come, Kellaway, Horton, Zain, Ul Hassan, but this next wicket could be crucial as that's pulled away into the onside. Man coming in backward square and just hurled unconvincingly on the ground back to Burgess, the keeper.
Yeah, they're going to need a senior batter to play quite deep into this innings, aren't they? When Warwickshire had their wobble and lost those 3 quick wickets, then Will Rhodes, who played quite responsibly, even if he wasn't timing the ball that well to begin with, and stayed with the youngsters on almost to the end. It's perhaps not the most experienced middle order Glamorgan have got.
No,
they might need one of these 2 to hang about. Very firmly hit.
Was by Northeast, and saved by Booth.
With his boot,
Yeah.
the crack you heard, I think, was he coming on right off his boot. So look, you've got to save runs off your own bowling more than anybody else's. So I reckon he saved a few there.
So Booth coming in from the David Road end. Good length ball, and that's cut convincingly. Will it beat the man coming in from third man? They'll come back from an easy 2. All about timing by Sam Northeast. 38 from 55.
This is a nice steady first over for Booth. Is it? Your heart would pound a bit, wouldn't it? If whatever the occasion, your first bowl at this level, and especially when you've been out in the field for an hour waiting to wait for the captain. Is he going to throw me the ball yet?
And get it wrong at this on this pitch, and any width, and it's going to go as Booth comes in. And again, it's stopped at backward point, and there's no run.
There'd be a bit of you would be back to being an 11-year-old again in the first game at school, wouldn't it? Just you want to get the first ball on the strip and then start from there. But this is all right. It's been very tidy.
Yeah, just 3 coming off his first over. This is the last ball. So more than acceptable as Booth comes in. Last ball of the over. Dugs that one in short. There is a bit of width that time, and it's dealt with convincingly by Northeast. Past the man at point and runs away on the ground for 4.
Yeah, there's opportunities for batters who can time the ball well, and Northeast can certainly do that. But I think you'd rather be fuller than shorter, and that wasn't very short.
He's very strong in that area.
Yes.
He can, on the offside.
So 7 from Booth's first over. He's not dissimilar to Will Rhodes in a way that we've seen come back again at the Oakwood Road end. He's slightly more strongly built than Rhodes, but similar sort of bowler. He's kind of strapping on his right elbow. Here's Rhodes to go into his 4th over, and Root is just sort of grasping for that a little bit and nudges it out on the leg side. So he's playing round his front pad a bit, but it's perfectly safe. And there's no run, 127 for 3.
And still almost 30 overs to go, so an awful lot now depends on these two. They need northeast. Goes without saying to stay there.
Rhodes comes around the wicket and Root goes back and hits this hard. It's past Brooks at short extra cover, but not hard enough that it's going to get to the boundary, and it's fielded by Lintott out there, and they have 2.
Yeah, a few more twos have been run in the Glamorgan innings. In Warwickshire's, it was either singles or boundaries. It's that sort of field.
Yeah, Warwickshire they're not really attacking at the moment. They'd love another wicket, but they would like to see the run rate required push up a bit beyond 7. Glamorgan are clinging on to it at the moment, and there's a good stop here by Barnard at backward point as Root guides the ball towards him. We started off with a run rate at 6.6. It's at 6.8 at the moment. Warwickshire would like to bowl a few tight overs in this middle bit of the innings and just push it up a bit. Rhodes in his 4th over, making plenty of bowling options for himself around the wicket. He comes, Root square drives, good shot, but he's not going to get a boundary, and again it's smartly fielded out there.
He wanted to, he run the first one hard, but just too close to the fielder, who hurls it back in.
Kai Smith is a wicket keeper, but he's doing a lot of running around the boundary.
Yeah.
He must be thinking the wicket keeping is rather easier, because he's covering a lot of ground out there. 130 for 2, for 3. Rhodes sets off again, and this is hit hard off the back foot, but unluckily for Northeast, Shakey's on patrol.
Yeah, the fastest man out there.
Yes, I reckon he'd win a race for these 22.
He was firmly struck by Northeast.
He's wearing quite a lot of the outfield on him, on his trousers, Hamza Sheikh. He's is he still one of the younger players? I hope he's graduated past kick duty. Rhodes bowls, and Root guides this to Barnard, who went to dive down to stop it and found the ball was coming slower than he thought. So he sort of toppled over like a tree in the wind. And it's a 131 for 3 at the end of the over. We've had 21 overs. It is absolutely gorgeous here at the moment. It really is. As we're looking out from the tent here, across the ground and across the rugby ground and the hills beyond, there's a bit of high clouds, a bit of blue sky, and it's lovely. The place is packed. There are people either occupying the seats or walking around getting some refreshment, going back to them. It's absolutely lovely.
It is, and there's a bit of a lull around the ground, the hush, because they know how important this period is for both sides. After that Kieran Carlson wicket. And boundaries have been hard to come by in the last few overs. That's smacked and partially stopped, but it's going to run all the way to the boundary. No, it's not. Sheikh stopped it brilliantly.
Well.
And he made about 20 metres or so there and came around. And the moral there is write him off at your peril, because he's a fantastic fielder. Made an awful lot of ground. He looked for everything that was going to race away for 4. And a fantastic stop by Hamza Sheikh.
Yes, he had a little bit of good fortune. His leg trailed over the rope, but he hadn't actually grasped the ball at that point.
Booth coming in. Bit of width that time, and they won't stop that. Glorious shot by Sam Northeast. Cut away for 4. And he now is looking to push on 49 without, still at the crease. Just giving him too much width that time was Booth.
Yes, it was. He hit it hard with a straight bat this time. It was only a little bit short, a little bit wide, and it's knocked a spectator off his chair there, I think. In the front row, right on the front there.
He's not going to miss out there. Booth coming in. That's right up in the block hole and dug out by Sam Northeast. 49 from 61 balls.
I've got a new friend here who's crept into the commentary box next to me. Hello. I like your hat. It's a lovely Glamorgan bucket hat. It's rather splendid. Good for you. Enjoying the cricket? Yes, good. Everybody's enjoying it. Smashing scene today.
Booth coming in. And they'll take a quick single to wide-ish mid-off, and that is Sam Northeast 50, and a good knock it's been as well. Raises his bat and takes the generous applause from the crowd here. The Gnoll 50 coming from 62.
Well, it's been hard work at times, not because he hasn't played well, but he's been in one or two scrapes. But they're going to need him to hang around for quite a while, I think.
Booth coming in. Well, just flirting with it outside off stump was Billy Root, but he's got to play. He's the main man now, and Root is having to play that foil as he did for Kieran Carlson.
I don't think he's quite settled, Billy Root, and that was quite a good ball. Just nipped a little bit there, and he wasn't very far away from the off stump. He's bowling right arm over, slanting it across the left-hander, and then went past the shoulder of the bat.
7 from the over, and Root will collect 1. It's fielded by Sheikh on the extra cover boundary, and that's the end of the over. Glamorgan moving methodically here, workmanlike, and they're on 139 for 3 after 22.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big target, but I don't think it's an impregnable score that Warwickshire have made. It is a small ground. Whether anybody can come in and really give it the long handle in the closing overs, we'll see. But Glamorgan's job is to make sure that they are still sufficiently in touch that somebody can come and do that. And at the moment, as long as they don't lose any too many wickets too soon, they are. Will Rhodes is going to press on into a 5th over in his spell. And he comes around the wicket to the left-handed Root, who is not quite timing the ball yet. He's pushed it away to the covers for no run.
Just worry that he's trying to feel for it at the moment.
Yes, there's been one or two where he looks as though he's just fishing for the timing a bit. And Michael Burgess is hovering about 3 feet behind him, hoping to snaffle one off the edge. Rhodes comes around the wicket and bowls a little short of a length, and Root forces this up to mid-off. He gets 1, 140 for 3. Replying to Warwickshire's 331 for 7. Warwickshire looking for a 3rd win in 3 games. Glamorgan a 1-1 loss, 1 and 1 rain off, aren't they, I think, at the moment?
Yep.
Rhodes back over the wicket to the right-handed Northeast, who with a little bit of a flourish flicks this towards mid-on. Miles runs across and fails to stop it and jars his arm, I think, a bit as he lands, but he's all right.
Yeah, disappointing against Worcester in the first game. Just a total of 199, but then beat Derbyshire last Sunday, and of course that Durham game here on Tuesday was a washout.
Round the wicket comes Rhodes, and Root is driving. Timed that better, but he's hit it straight to Miles at mid-on. Not quite straight at the moment. Mid-off also up inside the circle. The fielder's out on the boundary, a Sheikh on this near side, patrolling deep square leg to the left-hander. There's a long leg in every sense, Oliver Hannon-Dolby. There's a deep third man and a deep point. And Rhodes is bowling now to Root, who is wristily turning this into the leg side, but straight to Yates, century maker earlier on, and again no run.
Of course, Warwickshire are still there or thereabouts in the county championship. What, 5th in Division 1?
Yeah, they had a couple of bad games before the break. They were going quite nicely, and then lost when they were shot out for nothing on the first morning by Middlesex. So they're still hoping for a high finish. Round the wicket comes Rhodes, and Root strikes this down the ground and has 1, So a quieter over, only 3 singles picked up in that, 142 for 3 in 23. So yeah, they're not without a chance in the county championship, but it looks like Surrey and Essex to me, I think.
Well, not too dissimilar, Mike, to Glamorgan, 5th in Division 2, but just the 1 win, 7 draws.
Yeah.
So it looks as if it'll be out of reach again, unfortunately, this season.
Yes, it's going to be a sprint to the finish, isn't it, with those games in September. And there will be some weird results. You know, teams, you get sudden collapses in September. Warwickshire had one in the Middlesex game. The last one before the break, where they had one man out in the second innings before the end of the first day.
So you did call it. You thought that Lintoff would reappear in the attack. He's coming from the opposite end that he started from.
Well, he's only bowled 2 overs so far. We've had 2 of Booth. It was okay. He was reasonably tidy. 2 overs for 15. But Lintoff is the wicket-taking bowler they're looking for.
He was clattered a bit by Carlson, but as Mike will make way for Nick Webb as Lintoff comes in. Left arm over and stopped sharply by Barnard, and there's no run. Root trying to get his eye in. Glamorgan having to regroup after losing Carlson, who looked in fine form. Lintoff, slower one that time. That's squeezed out. Will Shake cut that one off? Yes, he will. Well, no prizes for guessing. He's cut everything off so far.
Well, if you can keep your footing, it's nice ground to be fielding on, isn't it? Because it's slowing the ball up a little bit, and
helps when you're 17 as well.
Quite soft for the slide, yeah, absolutely.
Lintoff just changing the field somewhat.
He has caused problems for Glamorgan in the past, Jake Lintott.
3rd over. Left arm over. Oh, a bit of movement there. Yeah. Just dabbed away by Sam Northeast, who's unbeaten on 51. So Lintott in his 3rd over, 0 for 18. Here he comes. And that's dabbed away into the onside through mid-wicket for a single.
Yeah, Glamorgan have lost a little bit of momentum since Carlson's departure, but on the other hand, you know, we're coming up to the halfway point in overs, and they're getting towards the halfway point in terms of runs.
Lintott. That'll be a single again to add to Billy Root and Glamorgan's tally. I think he was startled, Carlson, that he nicked one.
Yes, having started off very sketchily, he was nailing everything after that, wasn't he?
There was just a bit of uneven bounce. It just popped off the surface a bit.
Well, Miles is a man who can generate a decent lick of pace.
This the last ball of Lintott's over. Here he comes. And that'll be cut into the offside. Just a single. 2 extra cover. Glamorgan 146 for 3. So the run rate at the moment is just above 6, and the run rate required is just over 7.
Yeah, they won't want to get it much higher than that. I suppose Warwickshire's showed that you can chase, you can get 10 and over in the last 10 if you've got wickets in hand, but there's so much less pressure on the side batting first, isn't there? As Billy Root takes a drink on board. Hot work out there on this sultry afternoon with cloud and sun around.
Still muggy, isn't it? Still warm.
It is warm and sticky. As Root gets some hydration. And Sam Northeast will be on strike at the start of a new over. That'll be bowled by Ed Barnard. And Warwickshire ringing the changes in their bowling attack as, well, not quite as frequently as Glamorgan did, but seemed to be quite a lot of rotation on offer from Will Rhodes.
Yeah, Barnard started the attack from this side, the Oakwood Road end.
So he runs in and bowls, and on the back foot, Northeast plays into the covers. The shout was wait on, and quite correctly, because Rhodes, the skipper, made a a diving stop at cover.
Plenty of hydration of a different kind to the right of us. The hospitality tent.
The Neath business community is doing fine business today. As Northeast drives, again, doesn't quite... Well, he timed it reasonably well, but he can't find the gap as it's played straight to Rhodes. Yes, deals will be done. It's just a question of whether anyone can remember him tomorrow.
Yes. Still a decent crowd, though, in.
Barnard is in to bowl, and that's pulled away by Northeast into the leg side. They might have easily been two there, but they hesitated and decided against it. Good piece of fielding from the man out in the deep at mid-wicket, and I presume is still the youngster Smith, who's been patrolling there for most of the afternoon.
Who can keep wicket as well.
Busy boy.
As is Sheikh dancing about on this near boundary.
As Root drives into the offside, more work for Kai Smith, just the single this time. The ball isn't running hugely fast over the outfield for anything hit along the ground, even though there are the short boundaries. Sheikh in front of the pavilion, but it's not a pavilion area that's got members in it. It's just the players and officials and staff. Barnard bowls. Northeast drives. He's just beaten the bowler in his follow-through. Single. Oh, it's misfielded as well by Brooks as well, but there's no further damage as it's backed up by the man running round from long on.
Slightly more mundane at the moment in terms of the pace of everything.
Yeah, Carlson got it going for Glamorgan's favour after Warwickshire took those two early wickets. Root drives into the offside, straight to cover, no run. Warwickshire on the ball in fielding terms, 149 for 3, so Glamorgan are behind Duckworth Lewis. Not that we expect it to rain, but it's always a good marker. They're behind on that, but they have got the still the capability to win this match as we head for a mid-innings drinks break on this this warm afternoon. 149 for 3. Root has 17, Northeast has 55. And it is still very much game on here at the Gnoll.
Yeah, they've just been pegged back, though, since that wicket of Kieran Carlson in their pursuit of 332. Warwickshire posed that target largely due to the contribution of Robbie Yates, 102 and 110. Ed Barnard, 79, and notable contributions from Ethan Brook and Hamza Sheikh. Huge partnership at the start of the Warwickshire innings put them in the driving seat, so they could chance their arm in the latter part of their innings. Glamorgan more methodical in the way they've gone about things. Lost two early wickets, of course, Eddie Byram and Tom Bevan. There was rearguard action in the shape of Kieran Carson and Sam Northeast, but they've had to do so again after his departure.
Yeah, long mid-innings break. Will Rhodes was questioning the umpires about this. They don't necessarily get time added, but on the other hand, they get so much time allocated to bowl these overs. The session of play meant to be 3.5 hours. We started at around about 2:45 or thereabouts. They've got until gone 6:15 to bowl the overs. The Glamorgan Worm is on top of the Warwickshire one in terms of runs scored, but of course with 3 wickets down, where Warwickshire didn't actually lose any wickets until the 33rd over of their innings, so it's a different balance to strike.
And you get the feeling, Nick, that this partnership, if one goes here, you worry if there would be a domino effect.
Yeah, there's inexperience in the Glamorgan middle order, but on the other hand, we did have that excellent innings of 82 from Ben Callaway in adversity up at Worcester in the opening match. So there is a little bit of firepower potentially from him, but obviously it's still just his 3rd match, so you can't put too high expectations on a young man of that nature. Right, we're back in action after the drinks break.
And it is Lintott to continue from the Dyfed Road end with the soon-to-be condemned, well, it is condemned, the leisure centre, soon-to-be demolished leisure centre behind him. Here he comes, Lintott. Full ball, and that's squeezed out into the offside, just a single taken. Northeast, who was a bit slower than Carlson, it has to be said. 56 from 71. He's picked up.
Yes, considering he was a man who had a very painful blow when he'd only scored 15.
It was a painful blow as well into the mid-drift. Lintott coming in into the block hole, squeezed out by Billy Root. Hurled back in by Sheikh. Root is 18 from 28 balls. In the 26th over, some cloud cover now here at Neath. As Lintott comes in, good length ball, and that's paddled around the corner behind square for a single. So not much electricity out there at the moment in terms of stroke play. Runs drying up a bit. Just 3 of this Lintott over. Billy Root, and that is fielded by Lintott himself. So this is a good over. Putting pressure on the batters. Experienced campaigner, Lintott. Full that time, and that could race away. No, it's going to be fielded deep, and the man from long on comes round, and it's just a couple.
Yeah, divots flying in the outfield. Anytime anyone slides, there's a huge, great bit of turf goes up in the air.
Lintott's last ball, and Root tried a cut and missed out. So dot ball to finish, but an economical over from Jake Lintott, just 5 coming off that over. So they're building a bit of pressure here at Warwickshire.
Yeah, Glamorgan need to go big. The seamers Barnard and Miles have been going about a run a ball. Hannon Dolby with his 2 wickets and 2 overs has been most economical so far. Rhodes just over 5 and over. Lintott is now going for over 6.5, and Booth 2 overs for 15. So Barnard in from the Oakwood Road end, and Northeast plays that straight to mid-wicket. So the run rate's starting to
Dry up a bit.
Yeah, dry up, and the required run rate, conversely, almost up to 7.5 runs and over now. No need for Glamorgan to press the panic button as yet, as Northeast hammers that one through mid-wicket for 4. That one just rocketed past the infielder Rob Yates and gave Kai Smith on the boundary no chance at all. So a very firm blow from Northeast, who is a very considered batsman, but can hit the ball extremely hard, as we saw up at Worcester last year. Barnard bowls. Northeast hits this one again through mid-wicket. It should be fielded by the man coming round from long on. They're back for a second, and Root had to hurry. just panic stations for the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, they needed to have a fleeting look at it. It is just such a difficult skill to execute that, isn't it? To assess the run on the turn, to assess your own pace, your partner's, the pace of the ball coming in. Back for 2, and that'll be a single more to the Northeast tally as he turns one backward of square. Considering really that it's a fraction of a second these professionals get to judge it, then it's surprised there are not more run-outs. 161 for 3. Barnard to Root, who plays that one straight, and it's fielded by tumbling Barnard in his follow-through. I did see a scientific study a few years back that said cricket was basically an impossible game to play against the fast bowlers, because the batter shouldn't be able to hit the ball ever against a pace bowler. But it's funny that skills that can be pulled off by the pros. As Root again gets a little bit tucked up. It's a dot ball, plays it to Rhodes at mid-wicket. Lobs the ball back to the umpires today, Hassan Adnan and Paul Baldwin. This is the only game this year that umpire Baldwin will not require an overnight stay because he lives near Lampeter. So this is his local game of the year for the West Wales-based official.
Yeah, he needs to put a fair few miles in, even more than you.
Probably at least of nearly half the games in my home city.
So just 7 coming off that last over. They'll be more than happy with that, Warwickshire. It's creeping up once more, almost 7.5 almost now. So Lintott continues from the David Road end. Here he comes. Good length ball, but that's paddled away into the onside, just the single to the arm of Sheikh.
Seen a lot of them patrolling this pavilion boundary in front of us, haven't we? He's done well.
Covering a lot of ground. Here's Hamza Sheikh, the 17-year-old. Sheikh Lintott bowling here in the 28th. Oh, and it's a play and a miss by Billy Root.
Thought it was almost a stumping chance for a moment. Burgess didn't take it cleanly. Root shot his left foot back straight away.
So still a bit nervy is Root, feeling for the ball. 20 of 34. Mistimed a few. In Sam Northeast shade at the moment. Lintott to Root. He sets off fast, but it'll only be a single. As I think it's still Kai Smith out there on the mid-wicket boundary.
Yeah, looking back to the final game in this competition last year, Glamorgan at Worcester, these two added 245 runs together for the 4th wicket.
So that's a decent omen there. As Lintott comes in. Short that time, and that is, even from here, we could see that was a wide.
Yeah, that one came out wrongly, didn't it? Lintott bowling his left arm spin over the wicket at the moment.
Better length that time, and that's into the offside. There's no run. He saved a cover.
Root on that occasion, I think, hit something like 5 6s in a row to reach his century there up at Worcester.
Lintott fuller and paddled round the corner for a single. Morgan could do with a few quick fire boundaries here just to up the ante, gain some momentum, regain momentum. Northeast 66 off 78. Still quietly going about his business though. As Lintott to Root short.
Ooh. And
it's missed. He's missed out there, and you could hear the groan of frustration from here from Billy Root. So Lintott finishes his 5th, 0 for 30. Glamorgan 165 for 3 off 28.
So they're still round about where Warwickshire were, but the problem for Glamorgan is that it is 3 wickets down rather than Warwickshire not losing one until the 33rd over, thanks to the efforts of Rob Yates. 102, Ed Barnard 79. Excellent form, and Warwickshire are bringing back their wicket taker of the top of the innings, the tall figure of Ollie Hannon-Dolby.
From the opposing side that he took the wickets.
Yeah. Other end, he's coming back from the Oakwood Road end. 5 overs, 2 maidens, 2 for 23. Hannon-Dolby's figures. Can he add positively to that and get Glamorgan even more on the back foot? Duckworth-Lewis at the end of this over, struggling slightly to read it, but I think it's 178, so they're a bit behind. Hannon-Dolby into bowl, cuts by Northeast, but straight to short third man, up in the circle, and there was no run. So third man and fine leg are both up in the circle, unusual for a medium fast bowler, which means that there's plenty of protection on the boundaries. Long on is back, covers on the boundary, square leg. As Northeast sends it towards one of those boundary fielders at mid-wicket. So it's 3 back on the leg side effectively, long on mid-wicket, square leg and a deep cover on the offside. That's for the right-handed Northeast. Things will change slightly for the left-handed route. Third man is going back to the fence.
Burgess still standing up.
Good effort if he can do it cleanly against the opening bowlers. And Dolby in the blue of Warwickshire into bowl to Root, who plays that one down to deep backward point. Oh, there's a misfield, and they'll be able to come back for a second run as Burgess flicks the ball towards the stumps, but misses. A rare error from Kai Smith, patrolling that linear boundary, very straight along that side of the ground, and with the spectators just a couple of metres behind him, but didn't pick that one up cleanly. Back for 2, 168 for 3. Hannon Dolby on his way again to Root, and he plays that one towards long on and takes the single. So Glamorgan proceeding at fractionally under a run a ball, 5.9, but the run rate required has now gone up to 7.64. They still, though, have 7 wickets in the shed. It's how this relatively untried middle to lower order copes with any pressure put on them, with the run rate going up a bit. Hannon Dolby bowls. Northeast plays this one to long on, single taken, but you do have 2 experienced men at the crease here. Northeast 33 years old, Root around about the 30 mark.
Boundaries have dried up, Nick.
They have
considerably.
Yeah, Carlson found the ropes 10 times in just 40 balls he faced, but Root and Northeast content to work it round mainly at the moment. Hannon Dolby in to bowl, and Root tries a swing and gets it off something, and it bobbles down to the slip area where he's trying to pull, maybe off the glove, as well wide of the keeper, so it wasn't a chance. Single taken, 171 for 3 Glamorgan, 79 overs gone. Just over halfway to their target with 21 overs left. But 7.67 runs and over as the 2 batters meet for a chat mid-wicket. I think they know they probably have to take it.
Well, that's probably the chat, isn't it?
At least another 50 or 60 runs deeper before they start swinging.
Yeah. And all rests on, well, both, but Sam Northeast in particular, who's moved on to 68 from 82. Lintott continuing. Good length ball and down to the pitch of the ball. Oh, cleanly struck for no run.
Yeah, nice shot for naught for that, wasn't it? Really firmly off driving, but hitting it too well to the man on the edge of the circle at mid-off.
Lintott in, reverse, and that should go all the way. Yes, it does. Reverse for 6 from Billy Root, and in terms of Billy Root, the shot of the innings.
Absolutely. Got into position really early there. It was almost a reverse pull, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't a reverse sweep. Lintott's coming in. Root, short again. And that's hit down to long on, just for a single.
Just takes the pressure off the rest of the over then, doesn't it? Make sure you don't have to play too many big shots.
7 in 3 balls, so they can pick these off now as Lintott prepares, comes in. Fuller, down, Northeast down to the pitch. There's a groan of frustration from someone. I don't know if that was Northeast himself.
I think he was trying to drive on the leg side. It might have got the outside part of the bat towards mid-off.
as Lintott past the umpire, full delivery, and that evades the man. Well, they thought about just partially stopped by the man at cover. And I
think that's Brooks has caught him awkwardly somewhere. He's down and
they're
he's
going to ask for the physios, I think.
He's peeling himself off the turf. I'm not quite sure where that hit him, but it was obviously somewhat uncomfortable. Now he's back on his feet. Whether he got a whack in the chest, possibly.
Saved a single anyway for
He
his
did.
trouble.
Put his body on the line.
This is the last ball of the over. 3 dots so far. Lintott coming in. Good length ball that time from the off-break bowler. And at the end of the over, Glamorgan with 20 to go at 178 for 3. Northeast 68. Root still there on 32. A lot depends on these. Now, if Glamorgan are going to push on, just a little conflab out in the middle between both batters. Probably just echoing the sentiment that they need to stick around. Before trying to chance their arm.
Yeah, at what point do they seriously go for it? I mean, as long as Root's playing one, or one of them's playing one big shot and over for the boundary, that's okay in the Glamorgan point of view. Warwickshire got some experienced men in this attack as Root plays that one into the offside, and they'll scamper through for a single as it's picked up at point. So Hannon Dolby is now in his 7th over. We'll wait and see whether Rhodes takes him off after this to save maybe 3 for the death. Always tricky questions as to when to use your best bowlers from a captain's point of view. He's got 3 experienced seamers really in Barnard, Hannon, Dolby and Miles, as that one is guided by Northeast but straight to short third man. Man up in the circle. Michael Booth well placed to cut off Sam Northeast's little glides there. And Rhodes, the skipper, bowling his medium pace as well. Michael Booth, the newcomer, has only bowled the 2 overs so far. As Northeast tries to cut and misses this time. Well taken by Burgess standing up. Lintott, the spinner, has gone for about a run a ball. 37 conceded off 6 overs. .179 for 3. Hannon Dolby running from just outside the circle. Well, it's not many strides for a man of 6'7". Into bowl to Northeast, who works on the leg side, but that'll just be a single. So good tight over from Ollie Hannon Dolby.
Yeah, it's not the easiest to pronounce. He had some.
Should have him right by now.
Had some movement, didn't he, early on?
Yeah,
which troubled the batters. But it seems to
as
have
well as the
settled
commentators.
down.
Yeah, dismissed Bevan for 3 and Byram to 10. Carlson 61 fell to Craig Miles, caught behind. But this pair have put on 74 so far. As Root plays it out into the offside, takes a single out to point. Morgan ticking along. They need the one big shot and over. 181 for 3. Morgan players, well, Alex Horton is poised on the balcony. He may well be
It's him or Callaway, is it?
next in, him or Callaway. We'll see how they use the 2 youngsters. Callaway showed his striking capabilities at Worcester, where everyone else was falling away. Hannon Dolby into bowl. Northeast swings, gets a top edge. It should be caught, and it is caught. At third man, Northeast looking to swing on the leg side, and Booth got underneath it, and Glamorgan are 4 down. Northeast has gone for 69. It is 181 for 4 and still 151 more runs needed.
Yeah, toe end of the bat. At one point, you thought it was going to be one of those that would clear the infield. But Michael Booth got into position and took a clean catch. And you have the feeling that that is the crucial wicket. A big blow for Glamorgan.
69 off 89 deliveries for Sam North East. Wicket falling at the end of the 31st over. So, looking at the scoring rate worm, it has flattened really, and it's about the same as the Warwickshire scoring rate. Warwickshire did lose wickets from this point onwards, but they did have a bit of acceleration in the middle as well. And Ethan Brooks and Hamza Sheikh providing some very firm blows towards the back end of it as well. So Warwickshire finished well despite the clatter of wickets, and there's just a little bit more pressure on the side batting second. We've seen that Ben Callaway's got the striking capability, but it needs Billy Root now to manage things and to steer the youngster through it.
Yeah, Root 34 from 44 balls. But that the breakthrough that Warwickshire wanted. Lintott dabbed fine to fine leg, and they'll come back scampering back for 2 is Billy Root.
Yeah, scampering is a good word for Billy Root running. It's a lot going on, arms and legs all over the place. He's a very busy runner. As long as he gets there in the requisite time, it doesn't matter how he does it.
Square frame of Lintott coming in, and it was a leave from Billy Root, who thought he was on the wide-ish mark.
Yeah, he was hopeful there, Billy Root, wasn't he? Umpire unmoved.
In comes Lintott. Short of the length that time, but it's dabbed away into the leg side. Another single.
Run rate required, hits 8. 6 wickets in hand. It's a long way to go to put the foot down, isn't it?
Yeah, they needed North East to stick around.
Callaway showed that he's not afraid to hit over the top in his debut innings in this competition.
80 plus in that game. Lintott, and it's gone very fine. That could race to the boundary. Is it going to go all the way for 4? Yes, it is. So very welcome boundary.
Wides.
And it's wides indicated by the umpire, and it goes all the way.
Yeah, look from this angle, which is a lousy angle really at mid-wicket, and we look down on the screen, we'll get a better view of it. It looked as though, it turned a mile. It turned an absolute mile, that one from Lintott. And no wonder we thought it'd flick something on the way through. 5 wides.
In comes Lintott, balls. Ooh, and short of a length. Callaway just misses out that time. Glamorgan 189 with 6 wickets in hand. Just over 18 overs to go. Lintott, that's dabbed away through mid-wicket just for a single. They've really pegged Glamorgan back though. Callaway off the mark. Just depends when, as Nick said, Billy Root decides to go for it. It's a long way out at the moment. Well, he has, and somehow he scooped that behind. It's gone very fine. It was in the air for a long time, but is safe.
Yeah, a lot of action there.
Well, he was trying the reverse as he did a few overs ago, but not the same result that time.
Indeed, 192 for 4, then Glamorgan. Root has 39. Callaway has 1. And the equation Well, 18 overs left, and Glamorgan need a further 140 for victory.
Michael Booth comes back from the opposite end to where he's been.
So Warwickshire just seeing that it's an opportunity to work the youngster into the attack. Michael Booth, the young Zimbabwean-born seamer. And well, good captaincy really, giving him the ball with a little bit in hand for Warwickshire at the moment. 7.78 required run rate for the home side as the sun has disappeared. Cloudy now as Callaway drives, jabs it down the ground nicely for 4 runs.
I would go as far to say probably shot of the day from the Glamorgan innings.
That was a back foot punch, wasn't it, from Callaway? Stand and deliver went back just past the stumps at the bowler's end, and must have been timed really sweetly, because it didn't appear to be that much movement of the bat. 196 for 4. Booth steaming in. Bowls. Callaway tries to drive, hasn't timed that one quite as well, and it's fielded at short mid-wicket by Yates, and there's no run. Yates, who did more than anyone to build that platform in the Warwickshire innings, 102. He was third out with the score on 202, and there were plenty of bits and pieces down the order for the Bears as well. Glamorgan still a few behind on Duckworth-Lewis as Callaway hits this one over the top, and that one has gone all the way, just landed between the ropes and the advertising hoardings in front of the sight screen. And, well, what an entrance from young Ben Callaway. A beautiful straight driven 4. Certainly wasn't afraid to hit over the top, and he's quickly into his stride with a 6 and a 4. 200 up with that blow, 202 for 4. As Booth is into bowl, and Callaway drives, and that will be 4 more backward of square on the offside. A square drive that time, and shake the fielder on this near side of the ground, given no chance. 206 for 4.
In good form after his 80 plus at the start of the competition.
Yeah, top score in one match. 3 wickets in the next 2. Wouldn't be asking too much to get another significant performance from Ben Callaway. This time it's defended to mid-off, no run. 3 boundaries in the over. 14 runs. Gets the required run rate down just a fraction. 7.34 on the screen in front of us at the moment. BBC Sport Online commentary also via the 2 county websites, as Booth is into bowl, and Callaway has gone for it again. This time it's along the ground up to long on, and it'll just be the single. So Callaway will retain the strike, having taken 15 runs off the over. Glamorgan are 207 for 4. 17 overs remain, and they require 125 runs to win. So if you just break that down, that's a very gettable target, as long as they keep those wickets in hand.
Well, it is, and another over similarly would go down, would be very welcome from a Glamorgan perspective.
Yeah, it's just a question of whether they allow Booth another one now, having been taken apart in that over, and you don't want to ruin the confidence of debutants for future games if you pull them off the bowling attack at the first sign of trouble.
Yeah, 0 for 30 and 3 is Michael Booth. Route 39, Callaway raced 16 in half the amount of balls. The run rate 7.3. Current run rate is just over 6.
Well, Warwickshire think of a bowling change. Just a quick plug for Kenneth and myself, who will be heading down to the south coast of England on Sunday to join our local colleague there, Adrian Harms, on commentary for Sussex against Glamorgan. Next match for Glammy is 11 o'clock Sunday morning.
And I'll be going via Twickenham, Nick.
Yes, in the language of heaven, though.
Yes, to see if Wales can march on after their opening win of the World Cup warm-ups.
Warwickshire at Worcester on Sunday, by the way, so a rather shorter trip for the visitors on that occasion.
So Rhodes switching to the Dyfed Road end. Starts his run-up. 3/4 of the way back past the umpire. Slowish ball that time. Oh, that was a stumping chance. I'd like to see that again. And I think definitely Burgess has missed out. Just strayed leg side-ish.
Callaway was well down the track. Looked as though he was out of his ground there. And
just fumbled.
Burgess couldn't take it cleanly. And Callaway turned and dabbed his back down. So he's probably about a foot out, I think, there.
Yeah, he's got away with one there. And Rhodes knew it. Here he comes in. Past the umpire. Bowls. Fullish. And Callaway sped away, but thought better of it. Just down to the man. That fine leg. He's in at the 45.
Alex Horton remains padded up.
Rhodes coming in, bangs that one in. Oh, it's been put down. It was a reverse by Callaway, and it should have been taken easily. Callaway's been put down.
Michael Booth on the edge of the circle there. Chest-high catch, and Rhodes not really pleased because he should have had Callaway twice in this over.
Well, he's had 2 lives, Callaway. That should have been caught. Regulation catch, and it's been put down. Rhodes then will have the
maybe
grit.
it was just over his head, to be fair, on the replay, but should have held on.
He'll have the grit between his teeth now. Will Rhodes coming in to Root, slashes at it through the offside, just a single, and well, just through Burgess, who's feeling a bit nervy after missing that stumping chance probably earlier in the over, but it is backed up. Which brings Ben Callaway on strike. 2 to go. Rhodes coming in, right arm over the wicket.
Hello.
Fantastic shot, straight over the bowler's arm for 6. Cracking drive by Ben Callaway, who's really got his eye in at the moment. An array of shots, straight and true. That was a cracking shot.
Well, he's not afraid to go in the air, Ben Callaway, and it doesn't matter if you hit him in the air when it's scattering the crowds just the side of the side screen.
So 8 off the over, which takes the pressure off after 2 chances went begging. Rhodes coming in, the last ball of the over to Callaway, again slashes at it but picks the fielder out on the offside. Extra cover boundary, just a single. So 9 off the over. Ben Callaway trying to get going. 24 off 13. Root still there. 40 off 49. Glamorgan 216 for 4. I'll be making way, but first of all, it'll be the thoughts of Nick Webb.
Thank you, Kenneth. Mike Taylor comes back into the attack, or the microphone anyway. 216 for 4. 116 runs needed. 17 overs still to get them. So life is certainly interesting with Ben Callaway at the wicket. He's clobbered a couple over the boundary, and he's been missed twice. A stumping chance and then a catching chance at third man, just over the head of Booth, but he got both hands to it and should probably have clung on.
Warwickshire really would be in dire straits if I were coming into the attack, but Callaway's shaping up beautifully, isn't he? Taking it on.
Booth given the chance to redeem himself with the ball. Callaway comes down the wicket and hammers it straight down the ground for 4 more. That's extraordinary. He's given them the charge. 1 foot up in the air and flat battered him straight for 4 more.
Well, I hope somebody's got a photo of that he can have up on his wall. What a wonderfully flamboyant stroke.
Flamingo style, wasn't it? Up on one leg. Smashed it for 4, and Well, Warwickshire have got a long on back. Maybe they should consider a long off as well. 220 for 4. Callaway drives on the leg side. There should be a couple here. No, they'll settle for 1. Good bit of fielding at mid-wicket. 221 for 4.
It's a big call to give Booth another over at this point after he was so roughly treated by Callaway, but Callaway is taking risks, so it would be a huge benefit in the long run if Booth was to get him out, no matter how. So,
yep, if you're playing these youngsters, you've got to give them a decent shot at it, haven't you?
That's exactly the point. If you don't test them, then they're not going to get the full benefit. But it is quite a harsh spotlight that's suddenly shining on Michael Booth.
Booth then charging in again. This time the left-handed route is on strike, and he's carved that one away past backward point. It was in the air, but it's bisected the man up in the circle, and Smith charging round the ropes, and it is 4 more on the Glamorgan total. And all of a sudden the required run rate is starting to dip as the spectators are being forced to take cover. 225 for 4, and once it gets under 100 runs to win, then that's another psychological hurdle overcome. Booth in to bowl to Root, who drives that one on the offside. Smith will get to it this time, stops it, not quite cleanly, and then the throw is not quite cleanly picked up by Burgess. So Warwickshire just starting to show the odd little fumble in the field. It is obviously an outground, so the fielding is not going to be perfect and clean as you would expect on a county headquarters. 226 for 4. Callaway drives uppishly on the onside, but he's got rid of the shorter mid-on, so just chipped it up towards long on perfectly safely for a single. 227 for 4. Callaway has 30 off just 16 deliveries, and if he stays in for any length of time, then Glamorgan may move into a favourites position at some point in the next half hour. Warwickshire need wickets. Booth trying to get them. Root pulls towards square leg, well picked up by Sheikh in front of us. Keeps them down to a single. 228 for 4 and 12 runs off that over, and the run rate required is now below 7. Root 46 off 52 deliveries, Callaway 30 off 16, and it is the youngster who has been given licence to swing.
Yes, and I wonder if we do get to a point with, at the moment, Glamorgan are needing more or less 7 and over. If we do get to a point where they really are carving lumps off that, whether Root, as the senior man out there, will feel it's time to put a hand on his shoulder and say, let's just see through to the end, or give the boy his head, let him go. But Root is playing a good hand here.
Yeah, this game could be decided one way or the other in the next 10 minutes or so, you feel.
Rhodes, with 15 overs to go, is starting a new over to the left-handed Root, who has hit this straight to Ethan Brooks at short cover. I think Rhodes' pulse was going a bit in the last over.
Well, 2 chances missed off successive deliveries is not good for the blood pressure, is it?
Test the stoicism of any captain, that. Round the wicket he comes, and she's square driven by Root, and he's going to get 1, and they won't challenge Sheikh, I think. Well, his thrower actually gets away from the wicketkeeper Michael Burgess, so they would have made 2, but I don't think they want to take chances with him.
Yeah, the fact that Sheikh was on his knees really as he fielded the ball might have been a second run there, if you're being ultra critical.
He's been very quick on this, at the moment, the leg side boundary to the right-handed Callaway. Ethan Brooks is down in front of us as well now, as Rhodes bowls, and Callaway switches round and tries to swish that away to what was third man but became fine leg, and in the end gets only, didn't get any of it, and it's come off the wicketkeeper and gone for a bye.
Yeah, he's having an awkward few minutes, Michael Burgess, isn't he? Standing up to the stumps to virtually everyone. and getting a range of questions asked of him.
Well, I suppose there's a risk and reward in that, isn't there? But he's waiting for the reward at the moment. I mean, missed a stumping in the last over. He's driven by Root, but he hasn't timed it. And again, he's hit it straight to Ethan Brooks.
So 2 off 4 balls in this over. It's Warwickshire's over so far.
Yeah, and we're heading into a sort of finish where it might fluctuate. The advantage might be going over by over to either team around. The wicket comes Rhodes, and Root with a great chopping stroke hits it hard into the offside and gets 1 out to extra cover. Shake Fields. And any over that they can get through without conceding a boundary is going to be a win here.
I think the scoreboard had got ahead of itself there. It already had 231 up, but that appears to be now the score.
It's been very good, that scoreboard today.
It has.
Lightning fast. Rhodes runs in, and Kellaway drives. I don't think that quite came out of the middle, but it went a long way in the air out towards deep extra cover and found a safe spot to land. And he gets 2 for Kellaway. It was a little bit of a miscue, but there's 5 from the over. 233 for 4. Kellaway's 32, and Root 48. And Kellaway is not one that a lot of people will have seen too much of. I know he's only a young player, but I think he's shaped up quite well to the challenge with bat and ball today, because it was a bit tough when he came on to bowl.
Yeah, he went for 8 and over, but he was the main wicket taker
Yeah.
again. 3-wicket haul, his second.
But he stuck to it, and his captain obviously trusted that he could go back to it, even when the flak was flying a bit. And he's coming at a demanding time and tried to grab hold of the game here. He's got some ticker, I'd suggest.
Yeah, well, nice to see homegrown players coming through, like young Ben Kellaway, with Glamorgan, Welsh stalwarts, David Lloyd departing once he's done some more championship match, and Andrew Salter having announced his retirement. So it is a bowling change. It's Craig Miles into the attack, and Billy Root playing the first ball on the offside and going through for a quick single. There's a shy at the stumps and it misses. And Root might have been struggling. That would have been touch and go. It was square on from the wicket. It was Rob Yates who was trying to shovel the ball as soon as he fielded it. As Root called it, as soon as the ball eluded, and Root would have been out at that hit, but it was literally from side on. Yates having the one to aim at.
He slightly lost his timing in the last few minutes, Billy Root, and maybe lost his composure. That wasn't a great run. Well, they're not in that sort of desperate straits yet, but he's got away with it.
As Miles to Kellaway, keeper standing back for once, and Kellaway hitting that one out towards the rugby stand and over it. Pitches on the roof and rolls down the far side. And Ben Kellaway, what a young player he looks at the moment. Wickets and runs, and looking fearless, riding his luck, but smashing the experienced Miles over square leg for 6.
Well, good for Ben Kellaway. He's been coming at a difficult time when there was a possibility after losing North East that Glamorgan might lose the momentum they were building, and he's grabbing the game here. And that, if we say that this competition is now the 3rd string competition, the really good thing that it can do for county cricket is to give young cricketers an opportunity to come in and be tested in a proper competition. And here's Exhibit A, Ben Kellaway grabbing the game for Glamorgan, and good for him.
In comes the next delivery from Miles. Kellaway giving them the charge. He's hit on the pad, wanted a single. Miles boots it back past the stumps, and it's stopped by Burgess, to jeers and cheers from the crowd. It's a dot ball. Ben Kellaway played the first 2 T20 blast matches, slightly to our surprise at the time. Didn't get a score and bowled, I think, just 1 over in each. But I was talking to Steve Watkin, who's one of the second 11 coaches, a former Glamorgan and England bowler. And he says you don't always expect youngsters to come off absolutely straight away, and next delivery hammered towards mid-wicket by Callaway for a single, 241 for 4. And Steve's point was that you know, youngsters can come into the first team for a couple of matches, and even if they don't actually make much impression on the score sheet on that occasion, it just does them good, and they're better players when they come back, you know, whether it be a couple of months or the following season. They've got a bit of experience in the bank. Miles then to Root on 241 for 4. 91 needed to win. This one will reach the boundary as Root flicked it away. Leg buys called, but it doesn't matter. Miles straying down the leg side. Root tried to leg glance, whacked him on the pad. Fine leg up in the circle, no chance. 245 for 4.
Yeah, there really isn't very much margin for error, but you can't be leg side like that.
So although it doesn't go down against Craig Miles in the scorebook, it is to some extent his fault. 245 for 4. Miles to finish his over then, into bowl to Root, who deflects it down towards backward square, and that will be his half century with a single taken. Shake covers yet more ground, but Bill Root has reached a half century of 59 deliveries, and he's hit just 1 4 and 1 6.
Yeah, but he's played very responsibly, Nick, here, and he's the senior man at the moment, and he's very much shaping up as if he thinks he should be around at the end. And if he is around at the end, Glamorgan will probably win.
Yeah, at the moment, really, he doesn't need to play too many big shots himself if Ben Callaway is playing them and getting away with them.
Warwickshire need a break here. Will Rhodes, he's going to see if he can find it, starting the 38th over, and he bowls a ball that he's only a little bit short, but it's short enough for Bill Root to lean back on it and swish it over mid-wicket away for 4 runs with 1 bounce.
Yeah, back over length really hasn't been good today, has it?
Nope. With
the softish wicket, because of recent conditions, the ball has not been coming on. It's been a true wicket, but you've had to wait for it.
250 is raised by Glamorgan in the 38th over. Root waits for this one a bit and then guides it through the gap at extra cover inside the circle and out to the ever-willing Shake.
And the required run rate now coming down towards a runner ball, 6.39 at the moment.
Yeah, they're in charge just now, Glamorgan, and perhaps for the first time all day,
yep,
they're in charge. And Warwickshire are going to have to try and focus and not be frustrated. They've had a bit to be frustrated about in the last 20 minutes. Oh, a lovely clean strike by Callaway, and that's half a dozen more. What a good strike. He just set himself to swing through the ball and picked it up cleanly straight over the bowler for 6.
Well, he's about the 6'1", 6'2" mark, young Callaway, but looks as though he's got long levers, doesn't he? Looks as though his arms are slightly longer than his height would suggest, and he's making full advantage of it at the moment.
His timing was sweet there. He's 4th 6. Rhodes bowls, and Callaway with a bit of a flick turns this away off his pads, and he's going to get 2 probably down to deep long leg. Yeah, chase round by Shake, and 2 more to Callaway, so they've had 13 from this over already. And suddenly the scoreboard at the Oakwood Road end is going around like a fruit machine. 259 for 4, and Warwickshire have lost control. Less than a run a ball needed by Glamorgan with 6 wickets in hand, and Callaway square drives in the air, but there was only the umpire there, so he gets 1.
We're in the presence of rugby royalty here today. Sir Gareth Edwards is in the house.
Is he? Well, sure he's enjoying it. A great man, we really are in the presence of greatness. Gosh. Here's Rhodes hurrying in to complete another over around the wicket, and that's well timed by Root, right off his toes. Picks it away for 1 run. Out to long leg. to long on. 260 for 4, the end of a 14-run over, and Will Rhodes has got to try and work out where he's going to get the rest of his overs from, because it's not immediately obvious at the moment. He's bowled 8. He's got 3 more of Lintott left, 4 of Miles, and the 3 overs of Hannon Dolby, who has perhaps been the senior bowler in this game. When to deploy those might be the decision that makes or breaks the match.
Yep, and Dolby's got the 3 out of the 4 wickets to fall. Do you use him sooner or later to give yourself the best chance to try and nip this Glamorgan chase in the bud? Well, it's already budding. 71 needed. As Root could be caught here at deep point. He is trying to hit the ball square of the wicket. Didn't get enough power of it, and Smith took the catch. Low down, well judged. The game swings back again in Warwickshire's favour. 261 for 5, 71 runs still needed, and 11 overs to come after this one.
Well, it's easy to sit here and say that was a little bit unnecessary with the run rate having come down to 6. But they were on such a charge that you can perhaps understand the adrenaline pumps a bit. It was well held by Smith, because a couple of chances have gone away in the last 15 minutes. And Warwickshire really needed him to catch that one. And he did. And Root. Now, who's the responsible man now?
Well, they're both 19.
Because
there's not more than a month or so in it.
Well, Kellaway's heart must be pumping out of his chest at the moment, I should think, the way that he's striking the ball. And Alex Horton, who was on the balcony near us a little while ago and trying to look very cool. But he'll be doing Glamorgan a good service if he can stay cool now, because they need only 71 runs to win, and there are 71 balls available in which to get them.
So it's a runner ball, but wickets is the column that matters at the moment. 5 down. Can Callaway kick on? As Horton on the back foot defends into the offside. There is some batting power to come, because Tim van der Hoogten has shown that he can clonk a white ball a fair distance with a cameo if needed. But the pressure will be on the run rate to some extent. Zain ul Hassan is padded up as well, the big smile on his face.
Well, the job now is to get close enough that with a quick Van der Hoogten clonk you can stumble over the line.
Miles bowls down leg side, they're peeling for catch behind. It's not given, but there's no wide called. I thought it was down leg side. Anyway, we're square onto the wicket.
I thought it was too.
I'll have another look at that one. Maybe brushing some part of Horton's clothing on the way through. Yeah, just the trouser leg, I think.
But I think you'd have wanted to make a bit of a fuss about it, even if you didn't think he'd nicked it, because that might have got you off a wide or helped anyway.
Yeah, it did flick something, so it wasn't a wide. It was the correct decision. Miles bowls and Horton plays into the leg side. Well, that's a couple of dot balls.
Yeah, no running this over yet.
Nothing this over. Still 71 to win. Run rate just going above a runner ball.
There was someone out, one of the fielders was shouting a few moments ago when I didn't have my headphones on. I was saying, it's tacky out there, it's tacky, as if to suggest the odd one might still be sticking in the pitch.
Horton pulls. Oh, it's still straight to mid-wicket, and he is still to get off the mark. 261 for 5. Yeah, although Callaway has given the lie to it, we've said that most people have found it difficult to time the ball when they've first come in today, and have had to have a look at it. Callaway, 48 off 24 so far, has given the lie to that to a certain extent, but Horton's got to chip in as Miles bowls, and Horton will get off the mark here with a Nice forcing shot out to deep cover for a single, but it is off the last ball of the over, so it was only the one off the over, and it is now 70 off 11 needed by Glamorgan with 5 wickets in hand. So 2 elements to the equation, both the run rate and the fact there's only 5 wickets left. So Glamorgan cannot play as freely as they might like to otherwise.
I wonder whether Kellaway will. Whether the do you suppose Horton went out with a message from the dressing room, as if to say, "Keep going, young'un. Don't think too much."
Yeah. Do you need a message when you're going at 2 runs a ball?
Well, that's all right. But he's got because they took a single. He's now at the non-strikers end, so he'll be stewing a bit there.
Horton needs just to get something on it and run, surely, with Kellaway going so well.
Has he made a half-century yet in the first team, Kellaway?
Yeah, he got 82, at Worcester and didn't bat at at Derby, so he's got a decent average at the moment.
That's all right. Yeah. Okay, Lintott is returning. He's got 3 overs still to bowl, including this one, and Horton is respectfully forward to him to start this new over. He's 8th from the Difford Road end.
It won't be Glamorgan's fastest 50 in limited overs cricket, even if Kellaway does get there with the next ball.
Out comes Lintott, left arm over the wicket, and that's swept hard. And Ethan Brooks, who's now on patrol in front of us, makes a good sliding stop. So Horton has 1, and I'm fascinated to know how Kellaway is going to attack, if he does attack. Lintott here.
Glamorgan's fastest 50 is not one I would have guessed. Stuart Walters, 19 balls in Colwyn Bay.
Well, that'd be a place to do it if you were going to take it on, I suppose. In comes Lintott. Oh, a full bunger. And it's patted down the ground for 1 by Kellaway. There's been 1 or 2 fast scorers in Glamorgan's history, so I imagine that record has been through 1 or 2 pairs of hands before that. Lintott, oh, and that one's dragged the other way. It's too short, and Horton trying to reverse us. Swung it away over the infield. He's going to get 2. That was a rather ragged bit of cricket there.
Yeah, didn't get all of it, Alex Horton, but he saw the drag down early enough to... I don't think that was premeditated to play the reverse.
Forgive me, Nick, I'm going to have to nip off quickly. I'm now wanted for a half-5 bit, so...
There we are. Radio calls as Lintott bowls, and that's pulled towards mid-wicket. A couple of bounces fielded by Brooks on the boundary. Single taken. 267 for 5. As Kellaway on 49. Lintott in to bowl. And Kellaway just flicks that one into the leg side and goes through for a really good half-century. 26 deliveries, that's all it's taken. It is certainly one of the fastest, and they'll be dancing in the streets of Chepstow listening to this. So Kellaway has retained the strike as well. There were just the 6 runs off that over, but Glamorgan don't need too much more than that. 3 4s, 4 6s. Not very often you get more 6s than 4s. Missed twice off roads, a catch and a stumping when he was on 16.
He's been so destructive, hasn't he?
Yes, it's whether he feels slightly inhibited now because there's less batting power at the other end, maybe, or they just carries on going for it. Well, Warwickshire have pushing fielders back all over the place. 40 overs gone, they can push an extra one back.
Plenty of overs spare.
As Kellaway goes for that one and has ramped it over fine leg for 4 more. Extraordinary, fearless batting from Ben Kellaway here.
As the sun shines brightly on Ben Kellaway and the Gnoll.
Well, it's quite an impact in your first 3 games, isn't it? 82, 3 wickets, another 3 wickets, and the fastest half-century of the day.
Just 18 years.
19 years old, yeah.
Yeah. Mills coming in from the Oakwood Road end past the umpire bowls, and that's a cut firmly, but it's going to be intercepted on this near boundary from our vantage position.
So this is Craig Miles' 8th over. Hannon Dolby, the pick of the attack, has got 3 left. Barnard has got 4 left. So they can just stick to those 3 seamers if they want to. They've got 20 overs between Lintott, Rhodes and Booth, but they might want Lintott to continue for 1 more.
Miles wheels round, comes in, bowls Fuller. That's a fantastic shot. Once more, Horton that time from the full force of the bat, straight past the bowler for 4.
He just strikes the ball so cleanly when he gets it out the middle, didn't he?
Just as well that Miles went out of the way.
Yeah, he went to the ground and the ball went back where the bowler had been, effectively. Wasn't a chance, it was hit very hard along the ground.
Sun at its brightest now here at the Gnoll in the 41st over. Craig Miles comes in, banged in short, but Horton picks it out straight away and it's gone all the way to the far mid-wicket boundary, and Glamorgan are on a roll now. It's another 4, so an expensive over. 3 4s coming off the over.
Horton joining in the fun. The insouciance of youth. They don't care about the pressure. A couple of 19-year-olds smashing it round at the moment. 51 to win. 9 overs left after this one.
Edging ever closer, and the run rate dipped significantly now. 5.4 the run rate as Miles comes in. Horton just dabs that into through mid-wicket. Well, no. Yes, because the man had to come in from deep, but they settle on a single. That's all they need now. They can push it about.
Yes, they've got to the point where they've got the run rate down below a runner ball, so you don't need to take those risky second that maybe you'd normally expect to take at this point of an innings.
What an impact Ben Callaway has made, though. Glamorgan looking precarious after the wicket of Sam Northeast. And there's just a bit of a conflab out there between captain and bowler at the moment. Fielders looking around, a bit disillusioned, not quite knowing where to turn. Miles just orchestrating the field a bit. But at the moment, the batter's finding the gaps as Miles comes in from his run-up. Good length ball, but Glamorgan are picking everything up at the moment. Is that going to bisect both fielders out in the far boundary at Cow corner?
Just about stopped on the ropes.
But they'll pick up a couple.
Out comes 12th man with maybe a change of gloves or something, but
it's a good length ball, but Callaway's just picking everything up in a blink of an eye.
Well, Callaway at times has struck the ball so cleanly that is there a good length to bowl to him, really? You wonder. Little towel down for the 2 batters, the 2 19-year-olds at the crease. Came together with 71 still needed. But Horton is starting to strike it nicely as well. So Lintott will continue. Now, Warwickshire don't need to bowl any more of the spinner, but they've obviously realised, or thinking that he is among the more likely to get them wickets, so they won't be bowling out all their frontline seamers. Lintott then in to bowl. It's a full toss. It's heading towards us, and it's brilliantly caught by Ethan Brooke on the mid-wicket boundary. What a catch. It was hit hard. It was low by the time it got to Brooks, and Horton has gone for 14. And Warwickshire strike back. It wasn't the greatest of deliveries. Horton struck it very hard indeed, but didn't quite clear the ropes. And Horton slaps his bat against his pads in utter frustration because he's hit that one firmly, just not quite out of the middle as he points up over our tent.
That's where
it was meant to go.
Yeah, but to be fair, it was there to be hit, but a superb catch by Brooks. Right below us here on this near boundary. Fantastic catch, ground to make up. A full toss and just plugged a bit, but what a catch.
Brilliant work from Ethan Brooks. Diving catch, hit firmly, had to make ground to his left and catch it low down, and he achieved all those. So Zain Ul Hassan is the new man at the wicket. Now we've seen him for Glamorgan in the form of a cautious and considered opening bat in Championship cricket. Featured very little in the T20, may have batted once or twice, but we're going to see him in the shape of lower order support.
But he needs to take on a different role here. He just needs to support Callaway.
Yeah, just prod the singles and let Callaway go for the boundaries. There's still, though, 48 runs required for victory for Glamorgan, and whatever happens, really, this has been a fine contest of one-day cricket. Lintott bowls, and Ul Hassan plays it into the offside, calls for a quick single. There's a run there as Callaway was comfortably home. Hannon Dolby had to stoop at point.
Well, it's just ebbed and flowed, isn't it, throughout?
It really has been a fine 50 overs match, and it has been excellent entertainment. As Lintott bowls, turned on the leg side by Callaway for the single. Doesn't need to go for everything. 286 for 6. 46 runs needed.
Doesn't sound much, but
with 4 wickets left, yeah. They're all men who can hold the bat. The Glamorgan tail is stronger with Gorvin and Podmore at 10 and 11 than it was with McIlroy and Morris. As Ul Hassan drives into the offside, but Brooks, the catcher from earlier in the over, makes a good stop. So just looking to bring a couple of fielders in closer to stop Ul Hassan dabbing and running. There are 3 tight inside the circle. As Ul Hassan pushes forward and is beaten maybe with a bit of turn from Lintott there.
Just left him.
So Lintott dragging this match back towards Warwickshire slightly. Difficult to say who's favourites now. If Callaway's there, Glamorgan should win it. If he's not, then maybe Warwickshire can drag it back. Lintott bowls, driven into the offside by Ul Hassan, straight to the fielder again. So 3 dot balls in a row, just 2 runs and the wicket off that over. 286 for 6, and Glamorgan is it back up to, not quite back up to a runner ball. 46 required off 8 overs, 4 wickets in hand. So the equation remains tight on all sides, and Hannon Dolby is brought back into the attack. The lanky figure of the opening bowler, who's got 3 wickets to his credit. And the game still in the balance as we go into the last half hour or so. So Callaway is on strike. Hannon Dolby in to bowl. Callaway drives on the offside for a single, shake in off the boundary to do the fielding. 287 for 6. Can Ul Hassan now manage to rotate the strike as Warwickshire push their infielders closer in? His fielders, of course, can be on the edge of the circle, almost giving away singles and preventing further damage, or they can be prowling as cover and mid-wicket are at the moment, very much stopping the push and run on either side of the wicket. Hannon Dolby bowls to Ul Hassan, who drives square of the wicket and will take the single out to point. fielded by Smith, who's been patrolling that rugby stand side of the ground all afternoon. 288 for 6. 44 runs required. We're in the 43rd over, 7 left after this. In comes Hannon Dalby then from the Oakwood end to bowl to Callaway, who pulls into the onside, just takes the single out to deep mid-wicket. Is Callaway just reining himself back in a fraction with a view of the wickets in hand, and Warwickshire's premier wicket-taking bowler in the attack in the form of Hannon Dalby. If they can just take a runner ball, that is not a problem for the home side's chase. Hannon Dalby into Ul Hassan, clips it off his legs for a single, down towards backward square. Well, it might not be the pyrotechnics of previous overs, but Glamorgan don't particularly need them at the moment. 290 for 6, 42 runs needed to win, and 7 overs left after this, so it is 42 off 44 deliveries. Callaway on 60. Facing up to Hannon Dalby. Drives, chips it back just over the bowler's head, and didn't time that one, but got away with it. Single taken, 5 singles off the over so far. Tense times here at Neath. That one stopped in the pitch a little bit, and Callaway was through his shot quite early there. 291 for 6. 41 to win. Batting to come, Van der Hoogten, Gorvin and Podmore, who might be limping somewhat after a knee injury earlier. Hannon Dalby finishes his over to Ul Hassan, who's hit, I think, on the arm by that one. Ball bounces out to point, so 5 off the over. It was tight. It was a good over from Craig Miles. He has 2 for 63 off 9 as the two Glamorgan batters meet for a chat in the middle of the wicket. 41 needed off 42 deliveries. It is all about wickets in hand at the moment for Glamorgan. Just 4 of them, so they can't play as freely as they might otherwise like to. Callaway on strike. He's cleared the ropes 4 times already. Ed Barnard, who opened things up from the Oakwood Road end, now bowling from the Dyfed Road end, from in front of the condemned leisure centre, which is boarded up and not being used. As Barnard bowls to Callaway, keeper standing up. Callaway turns it away on the leg side. Brooks in off the ropes and does the fielding. Worcestershire bound Ethan Brooks. 292 for 6, 40 to win. Will this game go to the final over? Ul Hassan just 3 off 7 balls faced so far, and Will Rhodes will try and keep the pressure off the new batter, whom we haven't seen as a free scorer at first team level. Has batted in middle order and hit the ball firmly for the seconds. And he drives this one back to the bowler and is caught and bowled. Ul Hassan goes, Glamorgan is 7 down, and the bowling change works. Ed Barnard gets his first wicket with a yell of delight as Ul Hassan went for the straight drive, just mistimed it a little, and he has gone for 3. So Glamorgan is 7 down with still 40 runs needed to win, and that wickets column is looking quite perilous for the home side at the moment. So Van der Hoogten, who has played his part very much with bat and ball this season, but will need to bring all his experience to the party now. Glamorgan just losing too many wickets too quickly at the moment. Wickets falling on 261 when Root was out, 284, 292, and still 40 needed to win for the home side. Could still go either way. Warwickshire fighting back after Glamorgan had got the target down to under a runner ball. It is now exactly a runner ball, and there are just 3 wickets left. Van der Hoogten capable of striking a long ball as well, as he just dances around a little at the crease to make sure all the limbs are moving. And Ed Barnard steaming in with his first wicket under his belt, and Van der Hoogten plays cautiously on the leg side. Brooks comes hurrying in. Single taken. 292 for 7. 40 runs needed to win. In comes Barnard, bowls to Van der Hoogten, who plays it straight to backward point, who's close up in the circle. In fact, about 20 metres from the bat, and there is another dot ball. So Warwickshire stringing together a couple of successful overs and taking the wind out of Glamorgan's sails. Some tense faces on the balcony. Van der Hoogten drives into the offside. We'll get a single here to get off the mark. 239 for 7. 39 runs required off 6.1 overs. So it's gone back up over a runner ball. BBC Sport bringing the action from the Gnoll. Really has been a tremendous game. Warwickshire have been in front for most of the game. Glamorgan appeared to be in their innings as Callaway hits this one firmly out into the offside. Fielded at deep cover. Single taken. Just 3 runs then off the Barnard over. 294 for 7. Glamorgan need 38 runs off 6 overs with 3 wickets only in hand. Don't think there'll be too many leaving the ground. 1 or 2 maybe with a bus to catch are heading towards the exit, but 99% of this crowd is staying put because the result is very much in the balance now. 38 needed off 36, 3 wickets. In comes Anand Dalby, bowls. Callaway plays it on the leg side, sets off quickly, but so does the fielder on the ropes on the far side, and there is only a single. At one point does Callaway start going for the big shots again, when he knows the responsibility is mainly on him, as the set batter. His strike rate has slowed down since his 50. He's faced a further 10 deliveries for 14 runs. Alan Dalby bowls, keeper standing up, Van der Hoogten tucked up, plays straight to cover, and there's no run. And this chase is looking a bit jittery at the moment. Danger of Glamorgan falling away. Warwickshire with plenty of experience left in their bowling attack, looking to put their foot back on the throat. Alan Dalby to Van der Hoogten, and he's playing this one on the offside. They think about a single, but it's cut off at backward point. The dot ball's starting to pile up on the screen at the moment. 7 and over is the shout. Well, it's not quite accurate. 6.7 at the 7.3 at the moment. But Glamorgan's stalling. Callaway trying to be cautious. But Van der Hoogten needs to contribute as he pulls that one into the leg side. Didn't time it. It was at catching height for a little bit, but it was wide of mid-wicket. And a single up to long on. 296 for 7, chasing 332 to win. Anyone for a tie? Anyone for a tie? Might be a fair result at the end of all this. How about a super over? Not in the regs, what a shame. Hannon Dolby to Callaway. Pulls hard towards mid-wicket, but it's picked up cleanly on the ropes, and they won't risk a second run. So just 3 off 5 balls in this over from Hannon Dolby. It is his 9th. .297 for 7. Who is going to bowl these closing overs for Warwickshire? Well, Barnard's got 3 available, Hannon Dolby 1 and Miles 2. As Hannon Dolby speeds in bowls and Van der Hoogten plays on the leg side for a single, so they've been content to push for singles in that over. 298 for 7, 34 needed off 5 overs at 6.8 runs per over. Callaway 65 off 37 deliveries. Van der Hoogten 3 off 7. Capable of playing the big shots, the number 9. Gorvin and Podmore to come, possibly Podmore on one leg.
Hello.
There's a new over then from Barnard from the David Road end. Van der Hoogten on the back foot playing into the leg side. Single up to long on. Does Callaway yet dare go for those big shots? 299 for 7. The crowd just a quiet buzz at the moment. Callaway drives but straight to backward point. Square drive, and it's a dot ball. 299 for 7. Here on BBC Sport Online with myself, Nick Webb, Mike Taylor and Kenneth Davis off doing radio duties at the moment. 299 for 7. Barnard in to bowl to Callaway, who lofts it towards mid-wicket. It'll fall short. Oh, Brooks there forced to swivel and turn as the ball kicked off the surface. He's taken one brilliant catch, couldn't quite get in time to take that one on the full, but it almost did him as well on the turn, and the ball spun away from him and he almost ran past it but recovered well, Ethan Brooks. So 2 off 3 balls, 300 up. The ripple of applause you heard in the background. Van der Hoogten back on strike, he goes for a big hit, he's hit it down the ground and it's just eluded the fielder at long off. It is a much needed boundary for Glamorgan. Cheers of relief as the man at long on looked as though he might be able to get to it. Van der Hoogten opening his shoulders, hitting over the top of the infield, and the fielder there, Craig Miles, almost got down and got a fingertip to it, but couldn't quite get his body behind it. 304 for 7, 28 runs needed to win. 4 overs and 2 balls remain for Glamorgan. As Van der Hoogten pulls this, he should be caught by Brooks. Oh, he is caught. That's brilliant from Ethan Brooks in front of us. The crowd don't like it. It looked like a fair catch to me, and we had a good view of it. I don't think that he had possession of the ball while he was outside the ropes there. Brooks caught it, stepped back. Was he quite on the rope? My thought was that it was a clean catch. The umpires are conferring.
Can they come up here and have a look?
Only the umpires could come out and have a look for the replay. And he's walking. Boos on the crowd. Well, that was fractional it's difficult to see, even with multiple replays, whether Brooks had his foot on the ropes. But my thought in real time that it was a clean catch. That could be a match-winning moment. And Van der Hoogten is the man to go for 8. It's 304 for 8. And that is unfair, really, the crowd there having a go at Ethan Brooks.
I thought the same as you in real time,
Yeah.
Nick. On the replay,
did he put his foot on the ropes? It's very fractional.
It's a very good replay.
As we
but even that, he's not really
not entirely conclusive.
No,
as we see a close-up, Brooks's foot goes backwards. I think he's just scraped it away and got the ball in the air in time. And our cameraman thought it was 6, but there we are. He's out. 304 for 8. Barnard bowls. Gorvin dabs it away towards third man for a single. 305 for 8. Well, this complicates the equation yet again, doesn't it, as far as this fascinating match is concerned.
Well, and who's to say that we haven't seen that we're not going to see another twist yet?
I'm not sure if I can take any more twists.
It's been a super game. Before we get into the fight, the last knockings of it, what a great occasion for Neath Cricket Club.
Absolutely.
It must have been a heartbreaker on Tuesday, because I know how much effort's put into getting our grounds on. So let's have that noted at this point, because they've put on a super occasion. Everybody's come and seen it's turned out to be a great game. The place has been full. It's been noisy. It's been a really good advert for outground cricket, whatever happens in the last 4 overs. And who knows what's going to happen in the last 4 overs. Oliver Hannon-Dolby, this will be his last. And the first ball is turned away into the leg side by Andy Gorvin.
Gorvin is not the biggest of hitters. You would have thought that he'd be looking to place the singles and maybe let Kellaway go for the big shots.
I think he'd be happy to do that, I suspect. I think he'd have been happier still if he was where Harry Podmore is standing now, a few yards to our right with his pads on. And I'm sure Harry Podmore will be quite happy if he stays there for the next 20 minutes. Hannon-Dolby bowls. And it's turned away into the leg side by Gorvin, but there's no run.
Really needs to be placing the ball, doesn't he? Just plays it a little bit squarer on either side of the wicket. There's potentially for a dash and run.
And there's a lot of... It's quite delicate to place the field at this point, because they would like to keep Gorvin on strike. So where will he not hit it? Which gaps can they plug? Hannon-Dolby bowls, and he's found a gap here, Gorvin, I think, or just enough of one. Rob Yates diving to his right, couldn't stop it anyway. And he's got one, and now can Ben Kellaway change gear again? Because he's actually paced this innings very well. He went for it, got them into a good position. He's played quite responsibly for the last few overs.
Now he needs a couple more boundaries, doesn't he?
He's got to change gear again. Well, it's... a big moment for him, but this is these are where you find out what young players are made of, and he's already shaped up extremely well today. He's 66, and he's waiting for Hannon-Dolby. He took the pace off that, and he reverses, and it drops short of the fielder. A throw, and it was Hannon-Dolby was halfway down the pitch when he intercepted Miles's throw, but I think playing the percentages, making sure it was the only one rather than overthrow is probably a good idea.
Absolutely, there was no one backing up in close attendance, so it would have been an extra run, but still just 2 off 4 balls this over, and the pressure really back on Glamorgan as this game heads for potentially a last over drama.
Well, if they can get Kellaway on strike, then for the larger share of the 20 balls that remain, then they're going to have a bigger chance. But he's not on strike at the moment, and Gorvin is bowled, trying to heave across the line, and a 4th wicket for Oliver Hannon-Dolby. And Glamorgan's last pair are going to have to find 25 more runs when Kellaway is joined by Harry Podmore, who had gone a bit lame the last time we saw him, when he left the field earlier this afternoon. Gorvin went for broke and missed. So 4 for Hannon Dolby and 25 to win with 3 overs left.
Last pair at the wicket. Easy to play the game from here, but not sure that Gorvin needed to have a hoik at that point.
Not at this point. I'm just going to leave you very briefly, Nick, for a moment, if I may.
307 for 9. 332 is the target. Podmore with Bevan as a runner to add to the chaos. Warwickshire favourites now as this Glamorgan innings falls away. The wickets of Horton for 14, Ul Hassan 3, Van der Hoogten for 8, Gorvin for 2. And it looks like Ben Callaway's heroics might just be in vain here as Warwickshire firm favourites. 3.1 overs left, 25 runs needed, and Callaway needs to do the heavy lifting here. And Podmore, if he can just prod around, get the singles and get off strike. Does he actually need to try and take a single here? This is the last ball of the Hannon Dolby over. Might do better to just play it out and see what Callaway can manage on strike. Hannon Dolby 4 for 43. And he comes to bowl to Podmore, plays it into the offside. No is the shout. It was straight to cover, but they really didn't want a single anyway. Want to get Callaway on strike with 3 overs left. Glamorgan need 25, which normally would be possible enough, but not when you've got 9 wickets down as the 3 batters meet for a mid-wicket chat.
Yes, we could still be in for a chaotic finish, and having a runner out there traditionally adds to it, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's the decision with the catch on the boundary. Ethan Brooks thought he'd caught it okay, flicked it back inside and completed the catch. I tended to agree with him. The Glamorgan support definitely didn't. I thought that he'd kept his foot away from the rope.
And I can understand why the home crowd think that.
You'd need to really freeze frame it, wouldn't you?
And I'm not sure, even though a good replay was, even that would be conclusive. Anyway, Callaway's going to have a go in this over, and he's hit the first ball to long on. And Miles takes the catch, and Warwickshire have won what has been a splendid game by 24 runs. It's been a gallant chase, not least by Callaway, who finishes unbeaten with 67. But a hugely spirited effort from Glamorgan to try and chase down a very sizable target. Carlson's 61 was memorable. Sam Northeast 69 got them well on the way. Roots 56 kept them going until a crucial moment, and Callaway's unbeaten 67 had them in range. But Warwickshire chipped enough wickets away in the final overs to get there, dismissing Glamorgan in the 48th over for 307. And Callaway last out for 67.
Yeah, just 41 balls, a superb innings from the youngster, but dejection for Glamorgan. A victory for Warwickshire by a margin of 24 runs, but the game hinging really on that absolute fractional decision, and it really was a freeze-frame decision with Ethan Brooks claiming the catch on the boundary and the umpires in the end giving him the benefit of the doubt. Van der Hoogten would have had an extra 6 runs. Glamorgan would have had more experience still at the wicket, but they're all out for 307 as the teams meet to shake hands. So North East 69, Carlson 61, Root 56, Callaway last out for 67, but the tail end fell away. 4 wickets for Hannon Dolby, 3 for Barnard, and the experience of the Warwickshire seamers was just enough. Earlier, 102 from Yates, 79 from Barnard, 3 wickets for Callaway. The main points of the Warwickshire innings. An absolutely fascinating game of one-day cricket. Warwickshire are winners by 24 runs. So, well played to the visitors. Worcester next for Warwickshire.
Yes, well, they've got three wins out of 3 they've got so far, so they're reasonably well placed. Maybe, well, they'll be doing the maths, but they've come through a little bit of fire in the last couple of hours here. That they may get through 1 or 2 more if they encounter too many Holmes balls on the way out. But we've seen over 630 runs scored today, and as good as a full crowd here on an outground to see it. And we've seen a number of things today that this competition is about these days, Nick. It's about seeing young players step up and take their opportunity, and for many counties it's about getting out and meeting other parts of their public, which I dare say they have done a bit here. So on those 2 things alone, this match has been a great success. So
well done to Warwickshire. They are victorious by 24 runs. They have 3 wins in the bank. Glamorgan just the 3 points off, 4 games now. They go down to Hove on Sunday. Join us then. Worcestershire, the venue for Warwickshire, and Glamorgan travel to Sussex. Thanks very much indeed for listening. From Mike Taylor, from Kenneth Davis and myself, Nick Webb, a very good evening to you.